not solely for news gathering. I am here to seek assistance. Assistance? Yang Yingxue raised an eyebrow. We are not a charitable organization. I understand, Shinana replied, extracting several photographs from her folder and sliding them before Chinan. Please take a look at these. The photographs depicted an abandoned hospital building, its exterior weathered and windows shattered, exuding an aura of eerie desolation. Some images magnified certain windows, where indistinct shadows seemed to linger, although upon closer inspection, they appeared to be mere optical illusions. One particular photograph showcased the hospital's interior corridor, where disorderly drag marks marred the floor. This is Rinha Hospital. Situated on the outskirts of the city, abandoned for nearly a decade, Shinana elucidated. Approximately 6 months ago, strange tales began circulating in the vicinity. Whispers of hearing cries emanating from the hospital at night, sightings of white apparitions floating past the windows, and even reports of homeless individuals entering only to mysteriously vanish. Initially, everyone dismissed these as urban legends, paying them little heed. She paused, her voice lowering with a note of gravity. However, last month, 2 young individuals claiming to be paranormal enthusiasts stealthily infiltrated the hospital for an adventure, and they never emerged. Their families reported them missing, and the Public Security Bureau dispatched a search team, but to no avail. The matter was subsequently suppressed. What does this have to do with us? Chinan inquired, though he had already begun to piece together the implications. The sinister atmosphere captured in the photographs and the faint aura of unease surrounding Shinana likely stemmed from this very place. Shinana regarded Chinan earnestly. In my investigation of the Waisha Island incident, I inadvertently crossed paths with your unique circle. I have a strong intuition that the occurrences at Rinha Hospital transcend mere disappearances. They may involve phenomena beyond scientific explanation. The Public Security Bureau cannot resolve this, which is why I seek your assistance. Yang Yingxue perked up at this, intrigued. Ghost hunting? This is right up my alley. How shall we discuss compensation? She had already mentally cast herself in the role of a ghost hunting master. Shinana appeared prepared for this, stating, should you agree to assist, our magazine can offer a generous consultation and service fee. Furthermore, if we can unravel the mystery and rescue the missing individuals, it would serve the public good. Chinan did not respond immediately. He picked up the photograph depicting the hospital's interior, scrutinizing it intently. Despite the barrier of the image, his formidable perception could still detect a faint trace of resentment and an abnormal fluctuation in the space. This hospital indeed harbored secrets, possibly more than just lingering spirits. He set the photograph down and turned to Shinana. What compels you to be so invested in this? Is it merely for the sake of news? Shinana hesitated, removing her glasses and rubbing her temples, revealing a flicker of exhaustion. One of the missing young men is my cousin. He is my aunt's only son, and she is nearly devastated. The authorities have reached an impasse, and I must find a way myself. This revelation struck a chord with both Chinan and Yang Yingxue. Very well, Chinan nodded. We shall accept this commission. However, the remuneration must adhere to our established terms. Absolutely. Shinana readily acquiesced, hope illuminating her countenance. Yingxue, Ali, prepare yourselves. We shall visit Rinha Hospital tonight, Chinan declared, rising with a glimmer of interest in his eyes. Having just successfully established his foundation, he felt the need for practical experience to acclimate to his newfound abilities. Furthermore, he sensed there might be intriguing elements concealed within that hospital. Yang Yingxue rubbed her hands together, brimming with excitement. Finally, work has come our way. Little Li, let me show you a real spectacle. Though Ali did not fully grasp what constituted a spectacle, she obediently nodded, encouraged by Yang Yingxue's enthusiasm. Shinana observed this peculiar trio with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation. Uncertain if enlisting their help was prudent, she recognized that for the sake of her cousin, this was her only hope. As night gradually descended, the city's neon lights failed to disperse the profound darkness enveloping the abandoned hospital on the outskirts. A new adventure was on the horizon. Chapter 33. Hospital Terror and the Bound Spirit at Night. Rinha Hospital loomed like a colossal beast crouching in the wilderness, its dilapidated silhouette rendered even more sinister beneath the pallid moonlight. The night breeze whistled through the vacant windows, producing eerie sounds reminiscent of lamenting souls. Chinan, Yang Yingxue, Ali, and the determined Shinana, who insisted on accompanying them to document, or rather, witness, the events, stood before the rusting iron gates of the hospital. This is the place. Shinana gripped a powerful flashlight, her voice slightly strained. Although she did not believe in ghosts, her instincts betrayed her, inducing a primal fear in this unsettling environment. Qin scanned the surroundings, his brow furrowed. The malevolent energy here was far denser than what the photographs had suggested, unevenly distributed as if something were deliberately accumulating this dark aura. Deeper within the hospital, a subtle sensation of spatial distortion lingered. "Stay close to me, and do not wander off," Qin admonished, particularly addressing Shinana. With a casual wave of his hand, the seemingly sturdy iron lock clicked open effortlessly. As he pushed the heavy door ajar, a wave of musty air, mingled with dust and an indescribable scent of decay, rushed forth. The hospital lobby was vast and in ruins. The registration window shattered, tables and chairs askew, and the floor was thickly coated in dust, marred by numerous chaotic footprints. Both new and old. Shinana activated the camera, the beam from her flashlight cutting through the darkness, adding an extra layer of eeriness. "It seems not much is happening." Yang Yingxue pouted, a hint of disappointment evident. The scene she had imagined of a procession of spirits had yet to materialize. However, Ali's brow furrowed slightly. Her heightened sensitivity to energy and animal instincts alerted her. She gently tugged at Qin and sleeve and whispered, "Something is watching us." Qin nodded in agreement, also sensing the malevolent and resentful gazes lurking in the dark corners. The four ventured deeper along the corridor. The further they walked, the colder the atmosphere became, an intensifying chill permeating the air. Most of the hospital room doors stood ajar, the interiors shrouded in darkness, as if something might leap out at any moment. Suddenly, a faint sound of weeping emanated from the end of the corridor. A chilling and mournful wail, distinctly female. Shinana jumped, nearly dropping the camera in fright. Yet, Yang Yingshue's eyes sparkled with excitement. "It's coming, it's coming." Rather than retreating, she hastened toward the source of the cries. Qin, resigned, followed suit. At the end of the corridor stood an operating room, from which the sobbing resonated. The door was slightly ajar, and within lay a pitch-black void. Yang Yingxue boldly pushed the door open, directing her flashlight inside. There, beside the operating table, stood a tattered figure in a hospital gown, indistinct and semi-transparent, her back turned to them, shoulders trembling as she wept. "Hey, why are you crying? It's the middle of the night, and you're being quite the nuisance," Yang Yingxue exclaimed, hands on her hips, addressing the ghostly figure. The ghost's sobs abruptly ceased. Slowly, with an unnatural stiffness, she turned her head. It was a face twisted and pallid, devoid of pupils. She opened her mouth, emitting a silent scream, lunging directly at Yang Yingxue, the closest to her. "Be careful," Shinana shrieked. However, Yang Yingxue merely rolled her eyes, too indifferent to raise a hand. She retrieved a talisman drawn by Qin earlier, which she found amusing, and pressed it against the approaching specter. With a hiss, like a heated iron searing ice, the moment the ghost made contact with the talisman, she erupted in a cloud of black smoke, letting out a piercing wail, her essence thinning before dissipating like wisps of smoke. That was it. Yang Yingxue gazed at the now empty operating table, even more disappointed. It was far too easy to vanquish. Shinana stood dumbfounded. While she had suspected these individuals possessed abilities, she never anticipated that dealing with a ghost could be so trivial. One talisman sufficed? Yet, Qin shook his head. It is not that simple. This was merely a stray soul drawn here, not even a malevolent spirit. The real trouble lies below. His gaze shifted towards the staircase leading to the basement on the opposite side of the corridor. The aura there was thick, nearly as viscous as ink, and the spatial fluctuations emanated from that direction. Below, Shinana followed his gaze, the staircase descending like an entrance to hell. Its darkness profound and chilling. "Yes, the morgue," Qin replied calmly. "The core is located there. Moreover, I sense a trace of a bound spirit." "A bound spirit?" Yang Yingxue inquired with curiosity. "A spirit tethered to a specific location due to intense desires or grievances, unable to depart. Typically much stronger than ordinary wandering souls and capable of affecting the surrounding environment," Qin explained, leading the way toward the basement. "Come, let us meet the true entity. Yingxue, temper your enthusiasm. This may not be resolved with a mere slap." Instead of feeling fear, Yang Yingxue grew even more exhilarated, eagerly following along. Ali remained quietly at their heels. Shinana took a deep breath, striving to suppress her fear, gritting her teeth and following suit. For the sake of her cousin, She needed to uncover the truth. The staircase leading to the basement was long and steep, the air thick with a grotesque mixture of formaldehyde and decay. The temperature plummeted, her breath forming frost. Strange, claw-like scratches began to appear on the walls. As the four stepped into the dimly lit corridor of the basement, even Sheen and squinted slightly at the sight before them. The walls seemed to come alive, countless agonized and contorted faces writhing beneath the surface, wailing in despair, attempting to break free. The entire corridor distorted subtly, the light transforming into bizarre specters. At the corridor's end, the door to the morgue stood wide open, exuding a palpable aura of dark resentment. A low, haunting voice filled with endless suffering and hatred resonated directly within their minds. Why? Why won't you let me go? Stay. All of you stay with me. Chapter 34. The truth and purification. The echoes of resentment reverberated in their minds, akin to cold, venomous serpents entwining the nerves of each individual. Nana's complexion turned ashen as she clamped her hands over her ears, yet the sound permeated every crevice. Yang Yingxue also abandoned her playful demeanor, her expression becoming grave. Ali slightly hunched her body, emitting a low, threatening whimper from her throat, an instinctive reaction to the overwhelming sense of danger. Standing at the forefront, Qin radiated a faint aura of spiritual energy, creating a barrier against the invisible mental oppression. His sharp gaze pierced into the depths of the morgue, where the suffocating resentment coalesced like an impenetrable fog. Engaging in trickery, Qin scoffed softly, his voice resonating like thunder within the realm of resentment, causing the wailing faces etched upon the walls to blur momentarily. He advanced step by step, dispelling the chilling atmosphere beneath his feet with each stride. Yang Yingxue and Ali followed closely, while Nana, suppressing her terror, staggered behind them. Upon entering the morgue, the scene before them was utterly horrifying. It resembled a realm of phantoms, the space far larger than it appeared, with the cold corpses' cabinets askew, some even forcibly ajar, revealing emptiness within. At the center of the room, where the resentment was most palpable, floated a figure. It was a doctor clad in a tattered white coat. His form was far more corporeal than the wandering souls outside, almost indistinguishable from the living. Yet his complexion was a ghastly shade of ashen blue, with eyes devoid of whites, reflecting boundless resentment and anguish. Thick, black chains, forged from his pent-up grievances, coiled around him, their other ends deeply embedded in the earth, binding him to this place. This was a bound spirit, and an exceedingly powerful one at that. Doctor? Nana gasped upon seeing the white coat. The bound spirit of the doctor slowly lifted his head, directing his gaze toward the group, tears of blood streaming from his darkened eye sockets, filled with sorrow and indignation. I saved so many lives. Why? Why did it come to this? I cannot accept it. I cannot accept it. A tidal wave of potent resentment surged forth, intermingled with fragmented memories of frantic surgeries, the gratitude of patients, followed by misunderstandings, accusations, and being besieged by the families of the deceased, ultimately leading to his unjust demise within the very hospital where he had once saved countless lives. A tragic end by his own hand. The immense weight of negative emotions and shattered memories assaulted their consciousness. Nana felt her head pounding. On the verge of fainting, Yang Yingxue frowned deeply, discomfort washing over her. A glimmer of crimson flickered in Ali's eyes, and a faint aura of demonic energy began to emanate from her. Qin sighed, understanding the gravity of the situation. This doctor had been a diligent and devoted physician, yet he had met with injustice and died wrongfully. His intense resentment and obsession transformed him into a bound spirit. His grievances ensnaring not only himself but also beginning to affect the entirety of the hospital, attracting surrounding lost souls and even warping portions of space. The two missing young men were likely in grave danger, possibly having already been consumed and assimilated by this resentment. Your plight is indeed pitiable, Qin spoke, his voice imbued with a hint of spiritual energy, soothing the agitated resentment. However, this does not justify your lingering in the mortal realm, harming the innocent. Those two young men are blameless. Blameless. The bound spirit of the doctor shrieked in a piercing roar. Who will champion my cause? They all deserve to die. They should remain here with me. The resentment surged once more, the black chains striking out at Qin and his companions like venomous serpents. Simultaneously, a viscous, black liquid began to seep from the ground, as if to engulf them all. Stubborn and unyielding, Qin's gaze hardened. Sympathy was one thing, but inaction would only lead to further tragedies. He refrained from using lethal spells, instead forming intricate hand seals rapidly, reciting incantations. Soft yet resilient golden runes emanated from his fingertips, weaving a vast net that enveloped the bound spirit of the doctor. The cleansing earth deity spell. Yang Yingxue recognized the incantation, a high-level purification method documented in Qin En's grandfather's ancient texts, astonished that he had already mastered it. The golden runes made contact with the resentment, not causing a violent clash, but rather beginning to gently purify the black chains of resentment in the viscous liquid, akin to sunlight melting snow. The bound spirit of the doctor emitted anguished cries, struggling desperately, yet under the support of Qin En's foundational spiritual energy, the purification process, though slow, was irreversible. Let go of your obsessions to find liberation. Qin En's voice resonated like a tolling bell, striking the heart of the bound spirit, if it still possessed one. Your grievances shall find resolution through law and justice. Remaining here will only lead to eternal damnation, contrary to your original intent to save lives. As the resentment continued to be purified, the doctor's once hideous visage gradually softened, and a glimmer of clarity returned to his darkened eye sockets. He caught sight of his own distorted and terrifying reflection in Shun Nana's camera lens. Recalling the respect he had garnered in life as he donned the white coat, two streams of clear tears, no longer blood, finally cascaded down his cheeks. What have I become? He murmured, as the chains of resentment binding him began to shatter, dissipating into the air. Ultimately, as the last vestiges of resentment were purified, the doctor's soul became pure and transparent. He bowed deeply to Qin En, relief and liberation evident upon his face, before transforming into specks of luminous light, vanishing into the ether. With the spirit's release, the chilling atmosphere of the morgue and the entire hospital abruptly dissipated, the distorted sensations of space returning to normal. It felt as though sunlight, despite the night, finally penetrated this corner shrouded in resentment for a decade. Is it over? Shun Nana collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath, her entire body drenched in cold sweat. She gazed at the now tranquil morgue, as if awakening from a nightmare. Qin En nodded, moving toward a corner where two curled bodies lay, lifeless and devoid of breath, belonging to the two missing young men. Their souls had long been consumed by the resentment, beyond salvation. Let us take them out and give them a proper burial, Qin En instructed Shun Nana. As she looked at her cousin's cold body, tears finally streamed down her cheeks. Yet she recognized that this was the best outcome. At least, the truth had been unveiled, and the source of the affliction had been eradicated. The journey home was enveloped in silence. Although the incident has been resolved, no one can find joy in the face of life's inevitable decline and the weighty past. It turns out that not all spirits are malevolent. Yang Yingxue couldn't help but express a rare sentiment. Ollie nodded in a manner that suggested a vague understanding. Qin En gazed out at the swiftly receding night scenery, his confusion regarding the yin-yang Fei Shengju and his own path of cultivation deepening. This foundational elixir seemed, in truth, superfluous. Perhaps there exists a more expedient route to enhance one's strength? He glanced at Yang Yingxue and Ollie beside him, one embodying the primal ancient physique and the other possessing the bloodline of the nine-tailed celestial fox, a conjecture he had begun to form. The answer seemed to have been by his side all along. Meanwhile, Shun Nana observed Qin En's profile, her gaze filled with complexity. The experiences of this night had utterly transformed her worldview. She realized that this realm was far more intricate and perilous than she had ever imagined, and more. It appeared that her connection with this Ling Tai Xiao Yuan was only just beginning. Chapter 35. The proper way to engage in dual cultivation. Upon returning to the Ling Tai courtyard, the horizon had already begun to glow with the light of dawn. After a night of turmoil, both physically and mentally, the group felt a sense of fatigue. Shun Nana departed, carrying her cousin's remains and the final truth with her, burdened by complex emotions. She needed time to process it all and to manage the subsequent affairs. The courtyard returned to tranquility, with only the early birds chirping in the branches. Qin En did not immediately seek rest. Instead, he sat cross-legged in the grand chair in the courtyard, closing his eyes to introspect, carefully experiencing the changes following his recent foundation establishment and the flow of spiritual energy during the application of the Jing Tiandi divine spell from the previous night. The sensation of wielding power and controlling the situation was indeed delightful. Yet the lingering doubts regarding the yin-yang Feishing Ju and the foundation establishment pill coiled within him like an insistent vine. What is troubling you? Still pondering that Dr. Ghost matter? Yang Yingxue approached, offering him a cup of warm water. Although she often presented a carefree demeanor, she was keenly perceptive of Qin En's emotional fluctuations. Ali sat quietly on a small stool nearby, gazing at him with her clear eyes. Qin En opened his eyes, accepted the water, took a sip, and shook his head. Not entirely. I was contemplating our cultivation. He looked at Yang Yingxue and Ali, his expression grave. Have you noticed that during our earlier, dual cultivation sessions, our cultivation improved remarkably fast, without any hindrance, as if it flowed naturally? Yang Yingxue blushed, shooting him a reproachful glance. You lecher. Why bring that up so early in the morning? Yet, upon reflecting, she realized there was indeed merit to his words. Transitioning from an ordinary person to the 6th level of qi refinement in such a short time was astonishing, enough to terrify many so-called geniuses. Moreover, after each dual cultivation session, not only did her cultivation grow, but her mastery over power and understanding of spells seemed to deepen as well. Although Ali did not fully grasp the intricate implications of dual cultivation, she sensed that every time she grew closer to Qin En, her demonic energy became purer and more vibrant, smoothing out any residual unstable energies after her transformation. And this time, after taking the foundation establishment pill, Qin En continued, his brow furrowed. The process was relatively smooth, but it felt as if there was a barrier. It was as though an external force forcibly opened a door, rather than us comprehending it from within and naturally stepping through. I feel that while my true essence has thickened, the sense of affinity with the yin-yang Feishing Ju's essence seems diminished compared to before. As he spoke, his thoughts became clearer. The old man left this technique, and specifically instructed him not to engage with women before the age of 18. Could it be that he was not merely concerned about premature loss of essence and unstable foundations, but rather waiting for a certain opportunity? Or perhaps this technique was not intended for arduous cultivation. Are you suggesting? Yang Yingxue began to discern the implication, her eyes gradually brightening. We don't need to endure the grueling meditations and pill consumption as described in those texts. The true shortcut to this technique is that? Very likely, Qin En nodded, a peculiar smile spreading across his face. I suspect that the yin-yang Feishing Ju given by the old man is not a traditional technique meant for step-by-step cultivation. It might be an exceedingly domineering secret manual for dual cultivation, directly pointing to the path of transcendence. The so-called realms of qi refinement, foundation establishment, and core formation may merely be the natural outcomes for us, rather than deliberate hurdles to overcome. This notion was audacious, yet upon reflecting on his cultivation journey, it resonated profoundly. Why did he begin cultivating at 10 years old, but only managed to barely enter the first level of qi refinement by 13? Because he was unaware of dual cultivation. Why did his cultivation soar like a rocket after meeting Yang Yingxue? Why did it further explode after his interactions with Ali? Everything had an explanation. Wow. Yang Yingxue couldn't help but exclaim, her face a mix of excitement and embarrassment. So we've taken so many detours? You went through the trouble of refining foundation establishment pills, blowing up a few furnaces, and almost setting the house ablaze. If we had known this sooner, she trailed off, her face flushed red, unable to finish her thought. Although Ali understood only partially, she discerned from Qin En and Yang Yingxue's expressions that they seemed to have discovered a superior cultivation method. Tilting her head, she timidly asked, so, more dual cultivation in the future? The impact of such a question from the innocent Ali was immense. Qin En's face turned crimson, and he coughed awkwardly. Yang Yingxue directly covered Ali's mouth, exclaiming, little Li, such questions shouldn't be asked casually. Ali blinked innocently. Suppressing the fluttering emotions within, Qin En spoke earnestly. If my conjecture is correct, we need to replan our cultivation strategy. Pills and meditation can serve as supplements. But the core may truly lie in the harmony of yin and yang, the balance of water and fire. He paused, looking at the two women, his gaze intensifying. Moreover, I suspect the efficacy of this technique may be closely tied to the constitution of one's partners. Yingxue, you possess the rare ancient overlord body, and Ali, you have the bloodline of the nine-tailed celestial fox, of which I am nearly certain. Your origins are extraordinarily potent. Cultivating together with you not only benefits me immensely, but may also significantly advance the awakening of your bloodlines and constitutions. This was the most astonishing aspect of the Yin-Yang Feishing Ju. It was not merely a technique, but a bridge that could connect and awaken the potential of diverse special constitutions and bloodlines, facilitating mutual evolution. Yang Yingxue was momentarily stunned, instinctively touching her abdomen. The ancient overlord body. Me? She had always regarded herself as merely strong and slightly forceful, never realizing she bore such a formidable title. Ali also looked down at her hands, contemplating that the nine-tailed celestial fox bloodline seemed quite impressive. This is merely my hypothesis and requires validation. Qin stood up, stretching his limbs, his face displaying a look of eager anticipation. However, the method of validation. His gaze swept across Yang Yingxue and Ali, the implication unspoken. Yang Yingxue felt uncomfortable under his gaze, retorting, "Validation? I'm exhausted after a whole night of work. I need to catch up on sleep." With that, she attempted to escape into the house. Qin would not allow her to flee, swiftly blocking her path with a grin. Sleeping is such a waste of time. Scientific research indicates that moderate exercise helps alleviate fatigue and promotes physical and mental well-being. Go away. Yang Yingxue, feeling a mix of embarrassment and anger, struck his chest with a fist, only to be gently restrained by Qin and Ali observed the playful exchange between the two. Though she did not fully comprehend their words, the cheerful atmosphere prompted a soft smile to grace her lips. Silently, she rose to secure the courtyard gate, fortifying the rudimentary soundproof barrier that Qin had previously set up, a lesson learned from Sister Yingxue, embodying thoughtfulness. Thus, on this radiant morning, the inhabitants of Lingtai Xiaoyuan resolved to explore a significant hypothesis regarding the path of cultivation in the most primal, intimate, and efficient manner. For the ensuing days, the courtyard's entrance remained firmly shut. Occasionally, passers-by would notice the couple's affection, remarking on the remarkable soundproofing during broad daylight. The results of their experimentation left Qin in a state of ecstatic delight. There was no need for deliberate cultivation. Instead, he found himself immersed in a transcendent state where the essence of spirit and flesh intertwined, allowing the Yin-Yang Feishing Ju to operate autonomously, yielding an efficiency far superior to his usual meditative practices. The true essence within him became increasingly pure and refined at a palpable pace, with his perception and absorption of the heavenly spiritual energy expanding several-fold. His foundational realm was solidified, steadily advancing towards the mid-stage of foundation establishment. Even more astonishing were the transformations in Yang Yingxue and Ali. The strength within Yang Yingxue evolved beyond mere brute force, embodying a primal and domineering essence. With each gesture, a latent force of wind and thunder could be sensed, and her comprehension of the Benlei palm ascended to new heights. With the lightning within her palm shifting from a pale violet to a deep purple, its potency immeasurable. Her cultivation breakthrough elevated her to the 7th layer of qi refinement. Ali's transformation was even more pronounced. The foxtail that once required conscious restraint could now be freely concealed or revealed at will. Her mastery over her enchanting abilities became more refined. No longer was it a naive allure, but a deliberate power to attract or withdraw. Qin even sensed the nascent presence of a second tail within her, hinting at her potential. Her cultivation had also reached the pinnacle of the 5th layer of qi refinement. Indeed, this was the rightful path. Qin stood in the courtyard, feeling the surge of power within him and the deeper connection with the two women, unable to suppress a heartfelt sigh. "Old man, you truly have a knack for leading one astray. Couldn't you have made it clearer sooner? I've taken so many detours." Standing on either side of him, Yang Yingxue and Ali exhibited subtle shifts in their demeanor after days of profound validation and cultivation. Yang Yingxue displayed a newfound composure and elegance, while Ali radiated a playful vivacity, her eyes sparkling with innocent charm. It seemed that their future cultivation method would revolve around mutual assistance and collective advancement. Qin embraced the shoulders of both women, grinning like a sly fox that had pilfered a hen. Yang Yingxue playfully pinched him, her lips betraying an uncontainable smile. Who wouldn't relish such a mode of cultivation? Ali nestled against his shoulder, contentedly responding with a gentle hum. Just as this warm and slightly flirtatious atmosphere enveloped them, a knock resounded at the courtyard door. This time, it was Yang Zhantian from the Martial Association, his face etched with urgency and gravity. "Qin Xiaoyu, pardon my intrusion, but we have a situation." he exclaimed hurriedly upon entering. Qin raised an eyebrow. Intrigued. Oh, is someone looking for trouble again? His spirits were high. He felt that even if the Qin sect were to descend upon him, he could effortlessly, letting Xue handle it with a single strike. It is not trouble. Yang Zhantian shook his head, his expression grim. It's a case of disappearance. Similar to the situation at Rinna Hospital, but on a much larger and more sinister scale. Chapter 36, The Eerie Collective Disappearance Case. The news brought by Yang Zhantian cast a shadow over the three individuals who had just been reveling in the joy of a breakthrough in their cultivation. What exactly is happening? Qin invited him to take a seat, while Ali silently poured another cup of tea. Yang Zhantian accepted the tea, neglecting to drink it, and spoke rapidly. It is an old community in the west of the city called Xingfu Li. Since last week, there have been consecutive reports of people going missing. Initially, it was elderly individuals living alone, and later, young people returning late from night shifts. Now, 7 individuals are unaccounted for. Has the Public Security Bureau intervened? Yang Yingxue inquired. They have, but they have found no leads. Yang Zhantian's tone carried a hint of disbelief. There were no signs of abduction, no valuables missing, and the surveillance cameras were either malfunctioning or captured footage of the missing individuals entering a corridor or corner, never to emerge again. It is as if they have evaporated from the world. Moreover, he lowered his voice, his face displaying a trace of fear. There were security personnel patrolling the area at night, who claimed to have heard many people whispering simultaneously. Yet they could not locate the source of the sounds. It was profoundly unsettling. The residents of that community are now living in terror, afraid to step outside after dark. A collective disappearance? Vanishing into thin air? Eerie whispers? Qin and Yang Yingxue exchanged glances, both recognizing the gravity reflected in each other's eyes. This sounded far more troublesome than the solitary disturbances at Rinna Hospital. The ability to make so many people disappear simultaneously and disrupt electronic devices hints at something far more complex lurking behind it. What is the stance of your martial arts association? Qin asked. Yang Zhantian smiled wryly. We dispatched 2 martial artists at the inner strength level to investigate, and the result, one returned in a daze, incessantly muttering about many eyes, while the other has completely vanished. President Liu himself made a round and reported that the atmosphere there is chaotic, with heavy energy, accompanied by an eerie sense of malevolence he has never encountered before. Given his strength, he dared not delve deeper, fearing it would provoke an even greater disaster. Even Liu Fan, with the strength of a martial king, finds it daunting? Qin's interest was genuinely piqued. Having recently validated his dual cultivation path and significantly enhanced his strength, he was eager for an opportunity to test his skills. So does President Yang imply? Qin had a notion of his intentions. Yang Zhantian stood and respectfully bowed to Qin and Qin Xiaoyu. I understand this may be asking too much, but this matter concerns the safety of dozens of residents, and its impact is exceedingly grave. President Liu and we are at our wits' end, and can only shamelessly request your assistance once more. As for compensation, the Martial Arts Association and relevant departments will certainly ensure your satisfaction. Qin stroked his chin. While he was not particularly concerned about the reward, he was far more intrigued about the secrets hidden within the Xingfu Li community. The presence of something so malevolent that it unsettled even him could provide a deeper understanding of the concealed aspects of this world. Very well, we shall take on this task. Qin readily agreed. We will investigate tonight. Excellent. Thank you, Qin Xiaoyu. Yang Zhantian expressed his gratitude with great delight. I will make arrangements immediately and meet you outside the community tonight. Should you require anything, the Martial Arts Association will provide full support. After bidding farewell to Yang Zhantian, Yang Yingxue immediately approached with excitement. Another major task awaits. This feels even more thrilling than the incident at the hospital. Ali also looked at Qin, her eyes filled with inquiry. Qin nodded, though his expression was not as lighthearted as Yang Yingxue's. This situation may be more intricate. If even Liu Fan perceives it as malevolent and refrains from probing further, it indicates that whatever resides there likely transcends the realm of ordinary spirits. Remain vigilant during our operation tonight, and do not stray too far from me. He pondered for a moment, then returned to his room, searching through the collection of ancient texts left behind by his grandfather. Soon, he found several books detailing formations, barriers, and some esoteric techniques. Previously, he had deemed this knowledge of little use, but now it seemed prudent to be well prepared in the face of the unknown. He spent half a day hastily reinforcing several practical protective and investigative spells, and crafted a few talismans with various effects to distribute to Yang Yingxue and Ali. This is a Qingxin talisman. Keep it close to you, as it can ward off a certain degree of mental interference. This is a Jingguang talisman. It will automatically activate in the face of danger, capable of deflecting several attacks. This is a Xuanzhong talisman. If we become separated, infusing it with spiritual energy will allow us to sense each other's locations. Yang Yingxue and Ali accepted the talisman seriously, recognizing that this mission might differ from their previous experiences. As night fell once more, Qinin, Yang Yingxue, and Ali arrived at the Xingfuli community located in the west of the city. The area consisted of old buildings constructed at the end of the last century, with narrow gaps between them, crumbling walls, and many darkened windows, creating a lifeless atmosphere. A faint, uncomfortable aura pervaded the air, not merely cold but thick, as if it could seep into one's very bones, inducing a sense of oppression. Yang Zhantian and several trusted members of the Martial Arts Association had long been waiting at the entrance of the community. Upon seeing Qin En and the others, they immediately approached. Qin Xiaoyu, this is the place. Yang Zhantian pointed to the darkened interior of the community, his face grave. We have evacuated the residents from several buildings near the center, but the entire area is too vast to clear completely. Qin En nodded, his consciousness spreading like mercury into the community. Indeed, as Lu Fan had stated, the energy field here is exceedingly chaotic. Energy, resentment, and death energy intertwine, interspersed with a thread of malevolent energy filled with negative emotions and chaotic thoughts that he had never sensed before. This energy appears to be actively absorbing and amplifying the surrounding negative emotions. You stay outside, establish a perimeter, and do not allow anyone to enter. Qin En instructed Yang Zhantian. We will go in and investigate. With that, he led Yang Yingxue and Ali as they stepped into the eerily shrouded community. The moment they entered the vicinity, the oppressive sensation intensified several-fold. It felt as if an invisible membrane enveloped the area, isolating the interior from the outside world. The glow of the streetlights turned dim and distorted, casting oddly shaped shadows upon the ground. So many voices. Ali's ears twitched slightly. Her fox-kin hearing allowed her to capture those subtle whispers, akin to countless individuals murmuring in hushed tones from all directions. The content was indistinct, yet it was rife with despair, fear, and resentment, embodying an array of negative emotions. Yang Yingxue furrowed her brow, sensing a restlessness within her ancient dominant physique's vital energy, instinctively rejecting and loathing the malevolent aura of this place. Qin En channeled his spiritual power to shield the minds of the trio while concentrating his perception, endeavoring to trace the source of the whispers and the core of the sinister energy. They gradually ventured deeper along the main thoroughfare of the residential complex. The surrounding apartment buildings loomed like silent giants, their darkened windows resembling countless eyes, covertly observing their every move. As they progressed further, the whispers grew increasingly distinct, and the malevolent energy intensified. Hallucinations began to manifest, fleeting shadows danced at the periphery of their vision, and familiar voices echoed in their ears, provoking inexplicable feelings of agitation and dread. Steady your mind. It is but an illusion, Qin En uttered firmly, his voice imbued with spiritual power, cleansing the surrounding malevolent atmosphere like a clear spring. Yang Yingxue and Ali immediately focused their thoughts, guarding their spiritual cores. At last, upon reaching a small fitness plaza at the center of the complex, Qin En halted, his gaze sharpened, fixating on the now dry fountain at the heart of the plaza. All the whispers and sinister energy swirled like a vortex, converging and spiraling around that fountain. Within his spiritual perception, he discerned that beneath the fountain lay not solid earth, but rather an entrance to a distorted and unstable otherworldly space, forcibly created by a formidable malevolent force. He had found it. Qin En's gaze sharpened. The root of the problem lay just beneath. Chapter 37. The abyssal corridor and the collective of malevolent thoughts. The desiccated fountain, constructed from coarse concrete, bore edges riddled with cracks and moss. The bottom of the basin was littered with dead leaves and debris, presenting an unremarkable facade. Yet, within Qin En's spiritual perception, it was the eye of a tempest of sinister energy engulfing the entire neighborhood. At the center of the pool's bottom, the space manifested an abnormal distortion and folding, resembling a crumpled piece of paper. An entrance, invisible to the naked eye, but emanating an aura of chaos and corruption, was slowly rotating like a miniature black hole, voraciously consuming the surrounding negative energy, while simultaneously disseminating that malevolent spiritual pollution. An entrance, beneath the pool? Yang Yingxue gazed at the empty basin, incredulous. Although she could not sense the spatial opening, she felt an overwhelming sense of discomfort emanating from it. Ali's fur bristled. If she had revealed her true form, it would have stood on end. Her animal instincts filled her with acute vigilance and dread towards that aperture. Indeed, an unstable entrance to another dimension. Qin nodded gravely. Those who had gone missing were likely drawn into this entity. The circumstances within remained unknown, yet undoubtedly perilous. He attempted to probe the entrance with his spiritual consciousness, only to be repelled by a chaotic and formidable force, leaving him with a vague sensation of a realm filled with various distorted, tormented, and frenzied fragments of consciousness. Should we enter? Though Yang Yingxue felt a twinge of anxiety, it was overshadowed by an exhilarating sense of adventure. The combative bloodline of the Huanggu body seemed to simmer within her. Qin pondered for a moment. Entering posed immense risk. It could be a den of dragons and tigers. Yet, refraining from entering would fail to address the root of the problem. This malevolent entrance would persist in absorbing negative energy, growing stronger, and ultimately precipitating even greater disasters. Let us proceed. Qin swiftly made his decision. Having recently made significant advancements in his cultivation, he sought an appropriate sharpening stone. Moreover, he had an intuition that within this otherworldly space lay concealed clues to some of the world's secrets. He formed hand seals, casting a series of spiritual power runes to establish a rudimentary reinforcement and marking array around the fountain, preventing the entrance from vanishing or being compromised once they ventured inside. Stay close to me. If anything feels amiss, retreat immediately. Qin reiterated, leading the way toward the fountain. As he approached the center of the distorted point at the bottom of the pool, an overwhelming suction suddenly enveloped them. Qin offered no resistance, flowing with the force while firmly grasping Yang Yingxue's and Ali's hands. In an instant, the surrounding scenery warped and shattered, as if plunging into a kaleidoscopic tunnel, filled with bizarre colors and piercing shrieks that assaulted their senses. After a brief sensation of weightlessness and dizziness, their feet finally touched solid ground. The sight before them elicited a sharp intake of breath from Qin. Despite his prior mental preparation, they found themselves within an immense corridor, constructed from flesh and blood. The ground beneath them pulsed with a dark red hue, soft and slippery to the touch. The walls on either side were formed from countless twisted, anguished faces and limbs, compressed and amalgamated, their mouths silently agape, eyes vacant or frenzied, writhing and struggling as if yearning to escape this fleshy confinement. Above them, there was no sky, only an endless, dark red dome, resembling a network of blood vessels, from which viscous, foul-smelling liquid occasionally dripped. The air was thick with a nauseating stench of blood and decay, intermingled with an omnipresent, despair-laden, resentful, and fearful malevolent spiritual fluctuation. The negative emotions here were so potent that they nearly materialized, crashing against the trio's minds like a relentless tide. What is this ghastly place? Yang Yingxue's complexion paled as she fought against the urge to vomit. Though she was combative, the sheer horror of this realm, composed purely of flesh and suffering, instilled a primal sense of discomfort within her. Ali, too, could not restrain her transformation, her ears and tail emerging uncontrollably, baring her teeth as a low growl emanated from her throat, an instinctual reaction to the overwhelming peril. Qin quickly conjured a more potent spiritual shield, enveloping the three of them and filtering out much of the spiritual pollution and foul odors. His expression was grave. This was no naturally occurring otherworld. It resembled a nest of a collective of malevolent thoughts, forcibly melded and twisted from the suffering, resentment, and dark energy of countless beings. Or perhaps, it was the interior of a living, colossal malevolence. The missing individuals, it was likely their bodies and souls had been devoured, disassembled, and transformed into part of this corridor of flesh. We may be within the belly of a monster, Qin stated solemnly, a realization that sent a shiver down his spine. At that moment, the writhing flesh walls ahead turned in unison, revealing the anguished faces that suddenly fixated upon them. Countless hollow or frenzied eyes bored down upon the three intruders. Ah, so much pain. Stay with us. Become one of us. The sharp, Overlapping shrieks, filled with endless malice and seduction, surged forth like a tsunami from all directions, violently battering against Qin and spiritual shield. Simultaneously, the flesh walls on either side began to writhe violently. Monstrous appendages resembling gigantic tentacles, formed from countless severed limbs and twisted faces, surged forth, laden with viscous fluid and foul winds, striking toward the three and entangling them. The assault has begun. Chapter 38. Bitter struggle and the core faced with a terrifying assault akin to that from the depths of hell. Qin An's gaze turned icy, and he ceased to hold back. Jing Guangzhou, protect! He uttered in a low voice, his spiritual energy surging as an originally formless shield erupted into a brilliant golden light, enveloping the three of them like an inverted golden bell. The tentacles, imbued with potent spiritual corruption and corrosive energy, lashed against the golden barrier, emitting a hissing sound as they burned, with black smoke rising, yet they could not breach the defense. However, the force behind the tentacle strikes was immense. Each blow caused the golden shield to tremble violently, and Qin could feel his spiritual energy depleting rapidly. Ing Shui, Ali, target the roots of those tentacles. That is the energy node. Qin swiftly deduced that these tentacles were not independent entities, but rather manifestations of the corridor's own malevolent energy, their core connected to the fleshy walls on either side. Understood. Yang Shui could hardly contain herself any longer. With a fierce shout, the primal blood of her ancient body erupted, enveloping her arms in a pale purple lightning. Instead of employing simple slaps, she unleashed a series of powerful palm strikes. Ben Lei Zhang Jingtao. The condensed purple palm shadows surged forth like a tempest towards the junctions of the tentacles and the walls. The lightning, embodying both purity and might, was indeed the nemesis of such foul entities. Where the palm shadows passed, flesh was charred, and malevolence dissipated, causing several tentacles to wither and break. Ali was also unrelenting. The pink glow in her eyes intensified as she reversed her nine-tailed fox's charm ability. No longer enticing beings, but instead unleashing chaotic energy. She opened her mouth and emitted a silent shriek, sending forth a wave of invisible, confounding energy that rippled outward. The tentacles caught in this wave became stiff and sluggish, even starting to entangle and attack one another, as if they had lost their unified command. The synergy between the two was impeccable, one striking down evil with vigor, the other ensnaring the enemy with cunning, significantly alleviating Qin's burden. Seizing the opportunity, Qin formed seals with his hands and chanted a simplified version of the purification incantation he had previously used to subdue the earth spirit. Golden purification runes shot forth like moths to a flame, aiming to cleanse the dense malevolence from the fleshy walls surrounding them. However, the results were far from satisfactory. The malevolent energy here was too vast and deeply rooted. Individual purification runes were like a drop in the ocean, managing to cleanse only small areas before being overwhelmed by the encroaching malice. This won't do. The malevolence here is holistic. Unless we find the core, complete purification is impossible. Qin ceased his futile attempts. This conglomerate of evil thoughts had formed a complete, self-sustaining malignant ecosystem, and to resolve it entirely, he must destroy its core. While maintaining the golden shield, he expanded his consciousness to scan the vast blood-soaked corridor like a radar, seeking the point where the malevolent energy was most concentrated and active. The corridor seemed endless, winding and twisting, filled with writhing flesh and anguished faces. The tentacle onslaught was relentless, and their forms began to change. Some sprouted bony spikes, others spewed acidic liquid, and some even began to mimic incomplete humanoid monsters, howling as they charged forward. The battle grew increasingly fierce and arduous. Although Yang Shui's lightning palms were powerful, their consumption was significant, and her breath became labored. Ali's charm and confusion effects weakened against the increasingly potent malevolence, leaving her complexion pale. Qin had to maintain the shield while also diverting his focus to locate the core, his spiritual energy pouring forth like a flood unleashed from a dam. Continuing in this manner was not sustainable. Qin furrowed his brow. The tenacity of this malevolent entity exceeded his expectations. It possessed no fixed form. Its energy seemed nearly infinite, at least within this space, and its spiritual pollution was exceedingly strong. Remaining here for too long posed a risk of erosion even for him. A swift resolution was imperative. With a resolute bite of his teeth, he made a decision. Shui, Ali, protect me. I will forcefully deduce the core's location. Without waiting for a response from the two, he sat cross-legged, forming a complex and arcane seal with his hands before closing his eyes. He intended to perform an exceedingly taxing divination secret technique in this perilous environment. "Qinan," Yang Yingshui exclaimed in alarm, but upon seeing his determined expression, she understood this was the only way. With a firm resolve, she felt her primal blood burning within her, and the lightning surged once more, shattering the approaching humanoid monsters into fragments. Little Li guard him. Ali realized the urgency of the situation as well. She held nothing back. A second illusory foxtail faintly emerged behind her, her charm powers unleashed fully, creating vast areas of illusion to disrupt the tentacles and monsters' attacks. Buying time for Qian's consciousness plunged entirely into the divination. His awareness seemed to detach from the blood-soaked corridor, observing the energy flow of this conglomerate of evil thoughts from a divine perspective. Countless black threads representing the malevolent energy weaved through the corridor, converging ultimately towards a common point, hidden deep within, surrounded by layers of flesh and resentment. A pulsating heart. The heart was the size of a millstone, pitch black all over, its surface riddled with twisted veins and ever-opening eyes. With every pulse, it stirred the malevolence throughout the space. "That's it." Qian suddenly opened his eyes, brilliance radiating from them. "I found it. Over there." He pointed towards a region that appeared the most dense and distorted within the corridor. However, at the instant he indicated, the entire blood-soaked corridor seemed to be incensed, erupting in a deafening roar filled with boundless resentment. All the tentacles, all the humanoid monsters, even the anguished faces on the walls, surged towards the trio in a frenzy. The malevolent energy erupted like a tsunami, attempting to completely engulf and devour them. The final showdown had arrived. Chapter 39. The core of destruction and harvest faced with the frenzied counterattack of the collective of malevolent thoughts. Qian understood that he could no longer hold back. The core lay just ahead. With a fierce roar, he surged forward, his body enveloped in radiant golden light, resembling a golden drill that forcefully pressed through the onslaught of countless tendrils and monsters, advancing toward the location of the core. Yang Yingshui and Ali followed closely behind. One unleashed a torrent of lightning, the gusts of wind annihilating the approaching evils into dust, while the other conjured illusions to distract and alleviate pressure from Qian. The corridor writhed violently, contracting in an attempt to hinder their progress. The fleshy ground beneath their feet became as viscous as a swamp, while numerous pale arms extended from the walls, reaching for them. The sinister mental assault struck like a tangible hammer, relentlessly battering their protective mental shields. Each step was immensely arduous, accompanied by fierce battles and the rapid depletion of their spiritual energy. Blood trickled from the corner of Yang Yingshui's mouth, the backlash from forcibly activating her formidable vitality. Ali's second foxtail projection had dimmed considerably, indicating immense exhaustion. Qian's golden shield flickered precariously, as though it might shatter at any moment. Yet, none of them faltered. The remarkable bond and tacit understanding forged through their mutual cultivation played a crucial role at this moment. Their spiritual energies resonated subtly, supporting one another and forming a delicate cycle that sustained them in this dire predicament. At last, they broke through layer upon layer of obstruction and arrived at the deepest part of the corridor. Before them lay a colossal nest constructed of flesh and bones. At the center of the nest, a heart the size of a grinding stone, covered in eyes, throbbed wildly, emanating a suffocating aura of malevolence. It was the source of it all, the core of the collective of malevolent thoughts. It was it. Destroy it. A fierce glint flashed in Qian's eyes as he rapidly formed seals with his hands, pouring the majority of his remaining spiritual energy into a single, most powerful strike. The malevolent heart seemed to sense the imminent threat, all its eyes snapping open to fixate intently on Qian. A wave of mental assault, stronger than any previous attempt, surged toward him, a torrent of despair, hatred, and fear, akin to a flood breaking through its dam, aimed solely at him. It sought to shatter the will of this threat at the last moment. Qian, Yang Yingshui, and Ali cried out simultaneously, eager to assist. Yet they found themselves ensnared by the onslaught of other approaching tendrils and monsters, unable to lend a hand. Qian felt as though his head had been struck by a heavy hammer, countless negative emotions and chaotic thoughts flooding in, attempting to taint his soul and dismantle his resistance. His consciousness blurred, as if he were on the verge of sinking into an endless abyss of darkness and pain. In that critical moment, the spiritual energy cultivated through the yin-yang ascension technique, intertwined with the essence of Yang Yingxue and Ali, seemed to be stimulated, automatically operating at an accelerated pace. A gentle yet resilient force, like the nurturing spring rain, rose from his dantian, safeguarding his core of consciousness and firmly repelling the malevolent mental assault. It was the protective power born from their dual cultivation. Qin and spirit surged, his gaze instantly regaining clarity. He hesitated no longer, condensing all his strength and will at his fingertips. With divine authority, he invoked spiritual energy to vanquish evil. He pointed his finger, akin to a sword, at the wildly pulsating malevolent heart, striking decisively. A beam of chaos-infused light, refined to perfection and seemingly imbued with the essence of creation, shot forth from his fingertip. This radiant beam was not merely spiritual energy. It appeared to incorporate a hint of Yang Yingshue's domineering blood lightning, a trace of Ali's celestial fox essence, and Qin En's profound understanding of the yin-yang ascension technique. Wherever the light traversed, the very fabric of space appeared to be purified and smoothed. The surging malevolence and contorted flesh rapidly melted away, akin to ice succumbing to the sun. No, a piercing wail, filled with boundless resentment and unwillingness, erupted from the malevolent heart, as if a multitude of voices coalesced into one. In the next instant, the chaos-infused light effortlessly penetrated the layers of defenses surrounding the malevolent heart, striking true at its dark core. With a sound akin to a red-hot iron rod piercing ice, the targeted area of the malevolent heart instantaneously vaporized. Following this, cracks radiated from the impact point, swiftly spreading throughout the entire heart. Boom! A violent explosion ensued. Yet, it was not a physical explosion, but rather the collapse of energy and rules. The immense malevolent energy lost its core's restraint, spiraling out of control and annihilating itself. The entire fleshy corridor began to tremble violently, on the verge of collapse. The flesh and bones that constituted the walls and ground began to shatter and dissipate, like a dried sandcastle crumbling away. The space was collapsing. We must flee. Qin En, fighting against the sense of exhaustion, grasped the equally drained Yang Yingxue and Ali, and, guided by the spatial coordinates they had left upon entry, retreated rapidly in the direction they had come. Behind them, the terrifying world constructed from malevolent thoughts was swiftly dissolving into nothingness. As Qin En and the others stumbled out of the now dry fountain, the dawn light was breaking. With the destruction of the core of the collective of malevolent thoughts, the oppressive and sinister atmosphere that had enveloped the entire Xingfu Li community receded like a receding tide. Although the environment remained dilapidated, the deeply entrenched chill and eeriness had vanished, and even the air felt significantly more refreshing. Yang Zhantian and others, who had anxiously waited at the periphery, rejoiced upon seeing the trio emerge, especially sensing the unsettling aura dissipating. They rushed forward with great enthusiasm. Qin Xiaoyu, are you all right? What happened inside? Yang Zhantian observed the pale faces and weakened breaths of Qin En and his companions, particularly noting the injuries on Yang Yingxue and Ali, and his heart sank with alarm. It is resolved. Qin En waved his hand, though weary, his eyes sparkled with brightness. The core has been destroyed, and the entrance to this alternate space has vanished. It should be safe here from now on. He briefly recounted the events inside, omitting the details regarding the yin-yang ascension technique and their dual cultivation, merely stating that they had encountered a powerful malevolent entity and, after a fierce battle, ultimately destroyed its core. Upon hearing that the malevolent entity was formed from countless grievances and pain, capable of manifesting a fleshy alternate space, Yang Zhantian and the members of the Martial Arts Association felt their scalps tingle, their admiration for the strength of Qin En and his companions deepening immensely. Even such a terrifying entity can be vanquished. Who exactly are these three formidable individuals? I am deeply grateful, Qin Xiaoyu, and to you, Miss Yang and Miss Ali. Your assistance has been invaluable. Yang Zhantian expressed his heartfelt appreciation, assuring that the rewards would be prepared promptly, and that the Martial Association and relevant departments would remember this favor. Qin En nodded, his mind too weary for pleasantries, yearning instead for rest and recovery. The recent battle had been immensely taxing, yet it had also deepened his understanding of his own power and the yin-yang Fei Shengju, the instinctual protective force that emerged in dire moments. along with the chaotic brilliance resulting from their combined strength, illuminated the path for future cultivation. Upon returning to the Lingtai courtyard, they shut the door tightly. The trio barely had time to cleanse themselves of grime and fatigue before they commenced a profound recovery. Qin En's suspicions were entirely validated. The yin-yang Fei Xingju not only demonstrated extraordinary efficacy in enhancing cultivation, but also possessed unparalleled advantages in healing injuries and replenishing energy. Immersed in the mystical state of spiritual and physical amalgamation, the exhaustion and hidden wounds from the battle were swiftly soothed, and their depleted spiritual energy surged back at an astonishing rate, even becoming more refined and substantial than before the conflict. Yang Yingshua's consumed blood was replenished, her aura growing increasingly steady and profound. Ali's ethereal second tail became more corporeal, enhancing her enchanting talents. As for Qinan, he distinctly felt that the barrier of his mid-foundation stage, after enduring this life-and-death battle and subsequent deep recovery, had begun to loosen, signaling an imminent breakthrough. Indeed, combat and dual cultivation are the correct pathways to our cultivation. Qinan, sensing the surging power within him, could not help but express his thoughts once more. Days later, the Martial Association delivered a generous reward, including a substantial sum of cash, along with rare herbs and minerals. Although these were of limited direct use for Qin En's cultivation, they could be utilized to forge auxiliary items or exchange for other resources. Simultaneously, Yang Zhantian brought news. While clearing the residual malevolent energy in the Xingfu Li community, members of the Martial Association discovered a piece of black fragment at the bottom of a dried-up fountain. Neither metal nor jade, inscribed with bizarre, twisted runes. This fragment seemed to be the only remnant of the core of the malevolent entity after its annihilation. Their inability to decipher it led them to believe it might be connected to the origin of the evil, so they sent it over for Qin En's examination. Receiving the palm-sized black fragment, Qin En felt its chilling touch. As his consciousness probed it, he sensed an extremely subtle, ancient, and pure malevolent will residing within, far surpassing the previous entity. This fragment is no ordinary object, he thought. Furrowing his brow, it may merely be a small part of a larger whole. That malevolent entity may have been attracted and catalyzed into existence by this fragment. He stored the piece away, recognizing the significant risks and secrets it harbored, necessitating thorough research. Life seemed to have returned to a semblance of normalcy. Yet, Qin En was aware that after the incidents at Rena Hospital and the Xingfu Li community, they had inevitably become entangled in the undercurrents hidden beneath the calm surface of this world. However, he did not feel anxious. With the yin-yang Fei Xingju as his celestial path, and with Yang Yingxue and Ali as his immensely promising companions, he was confident that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would strive together to shatter them. Observing Yang Yingxue and Ali playfully tussling over a game controller in the courtyard, a warm smile graced Qin En's lips. Such a life, it seemed, was rather delightful. Chapter 40. Turmoil resurfaces and Shun Nana's discovery after the incident in Fully community subsided. Qin En and his companions enjoyed a few days of tranquility. They focused on profound communication to rejuvenate their spirits and consolidate their cultivation. The results were remarkable. Qin En felt he was on the cusp of reaching the mid-stage of foundation establishment. Yang Yingxue had stabilized her qi refinement at the 7th level, and Ali's second tail shadow had solidified considerably. The black fragment derived from the core of an evil object had been the subject of Qin En's study on several occasions. While he could ascertain its extraordinary material and the ancient malevolence it contained, he had not unraveled any further clues. It resembled a locked box, impossible to open without a key. He carefully stored it away for the time being. On that afternoon, the trio was leisurely enjoying tea, Qin En, playing games, Yang Yingxue, and reading comics. Ali, who was diligently learning about human culture, in the courtyard when a knock echoed at the door. It couldn't possibly be the Martial Arts Association coming to bestow gifts. No, it must be a commission, right? Yang Yingxue, engrossed in her game, did not lift her head. Qin En extended his consciousness and was somewhat surprised to find it was Shun Nana. Upon opening the door, he indeed found the journalist standing outside. Today, she was not clad in her professional attire, but rather in casual wear, carrying a backpack. Though she bore signs of fatigue, her eyes shone with an unusual brightness, even tinged with excitement. "Journalist Shin, is there something you need?" Qin En welcomed her inside. "Mr. Qin, Miss Yang, Miss Ali, I apologize for the intrusion." Shinana greeted them, her gaze sweeping across the courtyard. Upon noticing Yang Ingxue engrossed in her game and Ollie absorbed in her comic, her lips twitched slightly, finding it challenging to reconcile this warm and somewhat childish scene with the formidable persona she had encountered that night at the abandoned hospital and the happy community. I have come with a new discovery that I believe may be of use to you. Shinana forewent small talk and promptly retrieved a tablet from her backpack, displaying several photographs and documents. Is this related to the Black Fragment? Chinan inquired. Not entirely, but there is a connection. Shinana handed the tablet to Chinan, stating, I utilized the magazine's resources and some personal connections to peruse a wealth of archived records and accounts of peculiar events from various locales. I discovered that phenomena akin to the collective disappearance or the eerie whispers and anomalous energies witnessed in happy community have sporadically occurred across the nation and even worldwide over the past few decades. Upon hearing this, Chin-En's expression turned serious. He accepted the tablet and swiftly scanned the information it contained. Some items were newspaper clippings, others were photocopies of internal documents, and a few were indistinct video stills circulating online. The locations varied, and the time spans were extensive, yet certain described features indeed bore resemblance to the situation in happy community, such as inexplicable disappearances, electronic interference, and strange sounds or hallucinations. Most of these incidents ultimately faded into obscurity or were covered up by official explanations. Shinana pointed to several marked documents labeled as resolved or archived, but I noted that in a scant few records, there were mentions of unidentified black residue discovered at the scene after the event subsided. She magnified several low-resolution images. Although blurry, they revealed irregular black fragments, similar in shape to the piece found by the Martial Arts Association. Chin-En's gaze sharpened. If Shinana's investigation held truth, it would imply that the malevolent object in happy community was not an isolated incident. That black fragment could be a manifestation of something widely prevalent, capable of fostering malevolence. The hidden implications behind this could be far more colossal and terrifying than he had ever imagined. Do you suspect that these black fragments share a common origin? Chinan asked in a low voice. Very likely. Shinana nodded vigorously, her face alight with the thrill of uncovering significant leads. I compared all available descriptions of the black residue I could find. While the details vary, the core characteristics are strikingly similar. Unidentified material, extraordinarily hard, and imbued with strange energy or intent. I suspect they may originate from the same source, or could be fragments of creations from a higher existence. This hypothesis was audacious, yet not implausible. Chinan stroked his chin, lost in contemplation. If these fragments were deliberately scattered by a powerful entity, what could its motives be? To nurture malevolent objects? To harvest negative energy? Or was there a more sinister agenda at play? Did you find any commonalities among the locations where these events occurred? Perhaps geographical features or historical contexts? Yang Ingxue, having put down her game controller, leaned in to pose a pivotal question. Shinana regarded Yang Ingxue with admiration, well asked. I conducted a preliminary analysis, and while there are no obvious geographical patterns, there appears to be a certain periodicity in the timing of these events. Moreover, many of the sites have historically been ancient battlegrounds, large cemeteries, or locations marked by significant tragedies, inherently concentrating negative energy and resentment. So, these black fragments prefer to take root in such fertile soil? Chinan grasped her implication. One could interpret it that way. Shinana nodded. Additionally, I have one more crucial discovery. She swiped on the tablet, revealing a scanned copy of an ancient black and white photograph. The image appeared to have been taken at an archaeological site, with a backdrop of yellow earth. And in the foreground, an open pit resembling an ancient tomb, where some dark, block-like objects were faintly visible at the bottom. This photograph was taken 20 years ago during a rescue excavation of a tomb cluster from the Shang and Zhou dynasties and was never made public, Shinana explained, pointing to the dark blocks. According to an elderly professor who participated in the excavation, they discovered several similar black stones near the main burial chamber. They felt icy to the touch, and some team members experienced disorientation and hallucinations upon contact. Later, those stones were taken away by a mysterious department, and the records were sealed. Shang and Zhou tombs. From such an ancient era, Chin-En's heart raced. If these black fragments had existed thousands of years ago, their origins could surpass imagination. Were they remnants left by some ancient evil? Or did they come from beyond the heavens? The information you provided is invaluable. Qin looked at Shun Nana, his eyes reflecting a hint of admiration. This journalist's investigative prowess and acuity were indeed remarkable. Thank you for taking the time to share this with us. Shin Nana smiled, yet her gaze radiated a hint of determination. No need for thanks. Unraveling the truth is my vocation, and I believe there may be secrets entwined with these matters that pertain to the lives and deaths of many. I am aware of my limitations, but perhaps I can assist you in uncovering further clues. She paused, looking earnestly at Qin and Mr. Qin. I understand that you are not ordinary individuals. Should similar investigations arise in the future, or if you require my assistance in gathering information from the mundane world, I am willing to help. Qin regarded Shin Nana, admiring her courage to confront such pressure and her willingness to share crucial information. This rare blend of audacity and sense of justice was commendable. Having a knowledgeable ally in the open, skilled in information gathering, could indeed alleviate considerable burdens. Very well, Qin nodded. If relevant information arises, or if we need your assistance, I will reach out to you. Please ensure your safety. Investigating these matters may entail danger. I understand, Shin Nana replied, her face brightening with a smile. I shall not intrude further, and I will contact you should I uncover new findings. As Shin Nana departed, a palpable silence enveloped the courtyard. Yang Yingxue picked up the black fragment, weighing it in her hand, and grimaced. It appears this object is quite the hot potato, entangled in something much larger. Ali approached, sniffing the fragment and wrinkling her small nose, clearly disapproving of its aura. Qin retrieved the fragment, his gaze deepening. It is indeed a nuisance. Yet it may also present an opportunity. Unraveling the origins and intentions of this fragment could grant us a profound understanding of the essence of this world. Moreover, a subtle smile graced his lips. If these fragments are indeed a form of nourishment, then vanquishing the malevolent entities they spawn would serve as the finest training and merit for us. Not only would we enhance our strength and earn rewards from the martial association and officials, but we could also accumulate virtue, if such a thing exists, while exploring the world's mysteries. This venture seems exceedingly advantageous. Exactly. Yang Yingshue's eyes sparkled, instantly reinvigorated. Next time such an opportunity arises, remember to call upon me. My hands are itching with eagerness. Though Ali remained silent, she vigorously nodded in agreement, signaling her support. Qin observed the spirited enthusiasm of the two women and smiled. The path ahead might be fraught with uncertainty and peril, yet with their presence by his side, he felt undaunted. However, unbeknownst to them, as Shin Nana delved into the investigation of these black fragments, a hidden force lurking in the shadows seemed to have taken notice. A pair of cold eyes had pierced through layers of fog, faintly observing Xiangshan City and this courtyard that had repeatedly thwarted the sowing plans. Ling Tai Xiao Yuan. The tumult had not subsided. Rather, it was brewing into a greater storm. Chapter 41. A new task approaches. Chapter 41. The visit from Xiangshan Branch. The atmosphere in Ling Tai Xiaoyuan over the past few days can be succinctly summarized with 4 words: shameless and unrestrained. To be more precise, it is immersed in the diligent cultivation of the profound mysteries of the yin-yang ascension technique. As the morning light gently filtered through the window, casting warm spots of light within the room, Qin awoke with a refreshed spirit, savoring the solidified foundational true essence within him, and he could not help but smirk in satisfaction. It must be said that the technique left behind by the old master, while somewhat unconventional, truly yielded remarkable results. Its efficiency far surpassed his previous laborious attempts at alchemy, which had nearly sent him skyward. To his left, Yang Yingxue, resembling an octopus, clung to him in deep slumber, a hint of suspicious glimmer at the corner of her mouth. Occasionally murmuring dreamily, one slap sent them all flying. Her cultivation had already stabilized at the peak of the 7th layer of qi refinement, just a step away from the 8th layer. The primal blood within her was nourished through their dual cultivation, growing ever more substantial, and the aura she occasionally emitted startled even Qin. To his right, Ali lay curled up like a genuine little fox, breathing steadily, her exquisite face adorned with a serene and contented smile. Her second foxtail's ethereal projection had become increasingly solid, and her control over her celestial fox charm was ever more exquisite, her cultivation firmly established at the pinnacle of the 5th layer of qi refinement. Honestly, as Qin gazed at his two companions peacefully asleep beside him, he felt a twinge of pride, mixed with a slight sense of vulnerability. Their rapid pace of cultivation was akin to riding a rocket, but the demands on his vitality were indeed rather high. It was no wonder the old master had warned against engaging with women before the age of 18. Who could withstand such pressure? As he indulged in these thoughts, his consciousness stirred slightly, sensing two vehicles approaching the alley, from which several individuals disembarked, making their way towards the courtyard. Their auras were not particularly formidable. The leader seemed to be at the Martial King level, while the others were at the Grandmaster level. Ah, more visitors. Qin carefully extracted his arm from Yang Yingshue's embrace, moving with utmost caution to avoid waking her, lest she awaken in a foul mood, potentially causing a ruckus in the courtyard. Just as he finished dressing, a knock sounded at the courtyard door, firm yet imbued with a sense of official business. May I ask if Mr. Qin is at home? We are from the Xiangshan City Security Bureau's Supernatural Events Management Division and have matters to discuss. A relatively youthful, yet composed male voice called out. The Xiangshan branch? The Security Bureau? Qin raised an eyebrow, finding this to be a far more reasonable explanation. Having stirred some commotion in Xiangshan, it was only natural to attract the attention of local authorities. He approached the door and opened it, revealing 4 individuals, 3 men and 1 woman. At the forefront stood a young man appearing to be in his late 20s, clad in a dark blue standard combat uniform, standing tall and upright, with a sharp gaze that exuded a military aura. His cultivation was at the early stages of the Martial King level. He stepped forward and offered a greeting, though his eyes betrayed a hint of curiosity and scrutiny towards Qin. Hello, Mr. Qin. I apologize for the intrusion. I am Zhao Gang, the team leader of Action Team 1 from the Xiangshan City Security Bureau's Supernatural Events Management Division. Behind him stood 2 robust male team members, their auras steady, both at the pinnacle of the Grandmaster level, scanning the courtyard environment with vigilance. The most striking figure, however, was the female team member positioned slightly behind Zhao Gang. She was tall and voluptuous, her curves accentuated by the standard combat uniform, which she wore with distinct elegance. Standing nearly 175 meters tall, her long, straight legs complemented her athletic build. With a neat ponytail, her striking features and healthy wheat-colored skin radiated a refreshing vigor, her calm and focused gaze exuding a sense of confidence. Her cultivation was at the late stages of the Grandmaster level. Team Leader Zhao, is it? What brings you here? Qin leaned casually against the doorframe, his posture relaxed, yet his mind raced with calculations. The Security Bureau's visit likely pertained to the recent downfall of the Li family or the previous incident involving the sinister object. Zhao Gang seemed somewhat taken aback by Qin's nonchalant demeanor. Clearing his throat, he spoke earnestly. Mr. Qin, we have received reports of several extraordinary events occurring recently in Xiangshan City, including the anomalous energy explosion at the Li family residence and the unusual energy disturbances at Rina Hospital and the Xingfuli community. Our investigation suggests these incidents may be connected to you. He paused, carefully observing Qin's expression before continuing. We harbor no ill intentions. This is merely a routine investigation, and we hope to establish a communication channel with someone of your unique talents, especially concerning the potential existence of a certain special item related to the Xingfuli community incident. Indeed, they were here for the Black Fragment. Qin's mind was as clear as a mirror. A special item? Qin feigned ignorance. What do you mean, Team Leader Zhao? We are merely concerned citizens helping to clean up the environment. We didn't find anything of note. One of the burly team members behind Zhao frowned, seemingly about to speak, but was silenced by a look from Zhao Gang. Zhao Gang regarded Qin with a more sincere tone. Mr. Qin, let us speak plainly. That item may be linked to the machinations of hostile foreign forces and poses significant danger. It is extremely unsafe to keep it in private possession. We wish to recover it for professional handling. In exchange, we can provide you with information that may pique your interest. Hostile foreign forces? Qin exhibited a hint of curiosity. Indeed, Zhao Gang lowered his voice slightly. We suspect it is related to a certain secret organization from the land of the rising sun. They appear to be executing an operation known as the Sowing Plan, utilizing a special black fragment to create chaos within our country and erode the Earth's veins. The land of the rising sun. The Sowing Plan. The information aligned perfectly with what Nana had uncovered and his own speculations. Qin's previously flippant expression became more serious. On matters of national integrity, he remained resolute. Such insidious dealings by the Japanese were absolutely intolerable. He stroked his chin, contemplating. The other party's demeanor was courteous, and their reasoning was sound. He had studied that fragment, and, for the time being, could not comprehend its nature. Retaining it felt like holding a ticking time bomb. Thus, it would be wiser to relinquish it to the professionals. Moreover, it might yield some official intelligence in return, making the exchange worthwhile. Very well, Qin seemed to have made a decision. You appear earnest. I shall hand over the item. He called into the room. Yingxue, stop pretending to sleep and bring out that black lump we found in Zingfuli. Within the confines of the room, the discontented murmurs of Yang Yingxue could be heard. Yet she eventually rose with a rustle. After a brief moment, she sleepily approached the door and handed the black shard, simply wrapped in talisman paper, to Qin. She curiously glanced at Zhao Gang and his companions outside, pausing for 2 seconds on Shen Sinyu's striking figure before pouting and retreating back inside. Qin passed the shard to Zhao Gang, who received it solemnly. From a metallic case he carried, he retrieved a lead box inscribed with runes, delicately placing the shard within before sealing it securely. Thank you very much for your cooperation, Mr. Qin. Zhao Gang exhaled with evident relief, a sincere smile gracing his face. He had not anticipated the task to proceed so smoothly. He then produced a document pouch from his briefcase, offering it to Qin. This contains foundational information regarding the dark energy shards and organizations related to the Wugwa. It is classified, but you have the right to be informed. Furthermore, here is my contact information. Should you encounter any troubles or have relevant leads, do not hesitate to reach out. Qin accepted the document pouch and business card, nodding in acknowledgement. Zhao Gang hesitated momentarily before continuing. Mr. Qin, we have come to understand the capabilities of you and your companions. Given the current complexities, talents such as yours are greatly needed by the nation. Should you be interested in serving the country, our Shanshan branch, and even higher echelons, would always welcome you. This was an olive branch extended. Qin smiled slightly, replying as he had before, we'll see. We are accustomed to freedom. Zhao Gang was not taken aback and saluted respectfully. In that case, we shall not impose further. Farewell. With that, he and his team turned and departed. Throughout the encounter, the tall and voluptuous Shen Sinyu had remained silent, her gaze meeting Qin's briefly as she took the shard. Her expression clear and calm, revealing no emotion. As he watched the security bureau's vehicle leave the alley, Qin closed the door, weighing the document pouch in his hands. Wugwa, the sewing plan, quite intriguing. A smile of interest curved his lips. It appeared that his tranquil days would not last much longer. He turned to return to his room, preparing to thoroughly examine this official material. Inside, Yang Yingxue had already reclined once more. Mumbling indistinctly, gone? Those little devils are truly despicable. Next time I see them, just watch me drive them out. Ollie had also awakened, rubbing her eyes and softly asking, Qin, are you hungry? Qin could not help but chuckle at the scene. Regardless of whatever Wugwa conspiracy or sewing plan there may be, anyone daring to disrupt the peaceful life he had painstakingly attained would find him unyielding. Storm clouds may gather, but Qin was no longer the naive youth he once was. He possessed strength, a partner, and above all, a heart fearless in the face of adversity. Chapter 42. The new roommate and unexpected discoveries. Once the personnel from the Anshuanju had departed, the small courtyard returned to its tranquil state, albeit with an added layer of intrigue. Qin sat upon the stone bench, sifting through the contents of the file bag. Yang Yingxue leaned in closely, her curiosity piqued as she observed the documents. Goodness, these little devils are quite devious, scattering these fragmented remnants like seeds. No wonder they refer to it as the sewing plan. Ollie, too, peered over from the other side of the stone table, her discomfort palpable despite her inability to comprehend the text. The distorted black fragments and images of sinister artifacts provoked a slight furrowing of her brow. The information within the documents was not overly detailed, but confirmed several critical points. The malevolent fragments were indeed linked to the Shinto of the Wa Kingdom and the so-called ancient deity worship. These fragments had the capacity to absorb and amplify negative energy, catalyzing the emergence of various malevolent entities and disrupting local geomancy. The Daxiao Anshuanju classified this as one of the highest levels of threat, with branches across the country tasked with monitoring and remediation. The organization executing this plan in the Wa Kingdom was termed Yamada no Orochi, comprised primarily of ninjas and priests. The name seemed quite fitting, akin to a venomous serpent lurking in the shadows, ready to strike. Qin closed the file and rubbed his temples. To be scrutinized by such a national-level clandestine organization was undeniably stressful, like being ensnared by a cold serpent, unsure of when it might strike. What is there to fear? Yang Yingxue exclaimed, slamming her palms on the stone table, causing it to tremble. One strike for each that approaches, two for a pair. Just right for my Benlay palm to gain some momentum. Her brash demeanor, exuding confidence as if she were the eldest and Qin and the youngest, dissipated Qin and's lingering anxiety, prompting a smile. Indeed, Yang the hero is formidable. However, we must not rely solely on bravado. We ought to gather more intelligence. He contemplated the business card left by Zhao Gang, considering that maintaining a relationship of ambiguity with the authorities might be advantageous, at the very least expanding their channels of information. At that moment, a knock echoed at the courtyard door. Qin An's consciousness swept over, revealing two figures outside, Zhao Gang, returning, accompanied by a girl he had never seen before. Mr. Qin, I apologize for the intrusion. Zhao Gang's voice carried a hint of regret and perhaps resignation. As Qin An opened the door, he beheld a petite girl standing beside Zhao Gang. She appeared to be around 1.6 meters tall, slender in frame, clad in a slightly oversized blue hoodie and jeans, her back burdened by a backpack nearly as large as she was, looking quite heavy. She possessed an exquisitely delicate doll-like face, her large eyes strikingly clear, with long eyelashes, currently lowered in a somewhat timid manner. Her hands nervously twisting the hem of her clothing, reminiscent of a schoolgirl caught in a misdeed. Captain Zhao, who is this? Qin An inquired, perplexed, turning his gaze toward Zhao Gang. A hint of embarrassment crossed Zhao Gang's face. Mr. Qin, I truly apologize. This is Sun Xiaoxiao, our bureau's, a specially appointed technical consultant. Her situation is somewhat unique. Special consultant? Yang Yingxue interjected, intrigued as she approached, scrutinizing Sun Xiaoxiao. She looks rather underage. Does your agency employ child labor? I'm an adult. I'm 20. Sun Xiaoxiao suddenly raised her head, summoning courage to retort, her voice clear yet soft, lacking the authority to convince. Zhao Gang offered a wry smile as he explained. Xiaoxiao previously worked at a research institute under headquarters, but due to some, experimental mishaps, she is temporarily unfit to remain there. The higher-ups directed her to adapt to an external environment here at our Shangshan Bureau. Given her unique abilities and the relatively relaxed environment you provide, they have specifically requested if she might stay with you for a time, to learn from you. Qin An, Yang Yingxue. Ali also leaned in, her large eyes blinking curiously at this newcomer, who appeared somewhat easy to intimidate. Goodness! Qin An silently exclaimed. The Anshuanju's tactics were indeed multifaceted, sending what seemed to be a harmless yet potentially troublesome spatial ability user under the guise of learning and residing. This was no mere lodging. It was clearly a surveillance tool disguised as an intern, with provisions included. Feeling Qin in silence, Sun Xiaoxiao grew more anxious, softly adding, I can pay rent. I can repair things, analyze data, cook. A little. As she spoke, she instinctively patted her enormous backpack, which clinked with the sounds of metal and plastic components colliding. Observing her anxious demeanor, Qin An found his initial irritation dissipating. This girl did not seem to harbor ill intentions. Rather, she appeared somewhat, endearingly clueless. Yang Yingxue leaned closer to Qin An, whispering, Hey, she doesn't seem to be putting on an act. Plus, spatial abilities. That sounds impressive. Keeping her around as a helper. A little companion could be beneficial. Qin An shot her a sideways glance. I can hear your scheming from within. Nonetheless, he was indeed intrigued by Sun Xiaoxiao's spatial abilities. Moreover, having additional contacts from official channels did not seem detrimental. Very well, Qin An sighed, adopting an expression akin to one who had just incurred a significant loss. You may stay, but we shall establish 3 rules. First, do not bring back any peculiar items for research without permission. Second, do not disturb us during our training. Third, your rent will be offset by assisting with intelligence analysis and miscellaneous tasks. Upon hearing this, Sun Xiaoxiao's eyes sparkled with delight, akin to 2 twinkling stars, as she eagerly nodded. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Qin. I will certainly adhere to the rules. I'm easy to take care of. Her exuberance resembled that of someone who had just struck gold. Zhao Gang visibly relaxed, offering a few last words before hastily leaving with Sun Xiaoxiao and her oversized backpack. He felt that placing Sun Xiaoxiao with Qin An might be less worrisome than leaving her at the bureau. Perhaps. Thus, the Lingtai courtyard welcomed its 4th permanent resident, the tech-savvy and spatially gifted Sun Xiaoxiao. After settling Sun Xiaoxiao, primarily by stashing her enormous backpack in a corner of the guest room. Qin and the others returned to their seats at the stone table. Sun Xiaoxiao quickly shed her initial shyness, particularly expressing great curiosity and warmth toward Ollie. Sister Ollie, you are truly beautiful. Like a character stepping out of a painting, Sun Xiaoxiao gazed at Ali with sparkling eyes, her hands cradling her face. Ali appeared to harbor a fondness for the newcomer, the petite girl devoid of malice, tilting his head slightly and revealing a faint yet stunning smile. Thank you, you are quite adorable as well. Yang Yingxue, observing the scene with a tinge of jealousy, interjected, Hey, little one, am I not attractive? Sun Xiaoxiao immediately turned to Yang Yingxue and earnestly replied, Sister Yingxue, you are also very beautiful, both handsome and lovely, like a Barbie doll that can fight. By the way, I'm a few months older than you. Yang Yingxue remarked, Why does that compliment sound so awkward? Qin, stifling a laugh, redirected the conversation. Xiaoxiao, you were researching the so-called evil energy fragments, correct? Upon mentioning her field of expertise, Sun Xiaoxiao's demeanor transformed. She was no longer the timid girl, her eyes now radiating focus and confidence. She pushed up her non-existent glasses, perhaps a habitual gesture, and stated, Yes, Mr. Qin, I have participated in the energy analysis and tracing of similar fragments. The energy structure of these fragments is exceedingly ancient and bizarre, not belonging to any known energy system. It resembles a manifestation of rules that are polluted and distorted. She paused to gather her thoughts. To illustrate, if the energy of our world is akin to clear water, then these fragments are like thick ink dropped into that water. They not only contaminate the surrounding area, but also actively attract and transform the nearby water, rendering it murky and breeding various undesirable elements. This metaphor resonated clearly with Qin and the others. Is there any way to completely purify or destroy them? Qin inquired. Sun Xiaoxiao shook her head, her small face scrunching in concern. It is quite difficult. We have attempted numerous methods, yet physical destruction yields minimal results. Energy impacts are often absorbed or deflected by them, potentially triggering even more violent energy backlash. Currently, the most effective approach is to locate and destroy the core of the evil entities spawned by them, as you have done. The fragments themselves will subsequently lose their vitality, but their essence seems nearly impossible to annihilate, resembling something that has merely been temporarily sealed. Even the official research institute cannot completely obliterate them? Qin furrowed his brows, realizing the complexity of the situation was greater than he had anticipated. However, Sun Xiaoxiao shifted her tone, seemingly struck by a thought as she rummaged through her enormous backpack, muttering, I remember I brought it out. Where did I place it? Ah, found it. She produced a device the size of a palm, resembling a thick tablet, the screen illuminating to reveal a complex energy spectrum. Skillfully operating it for a moment, she turned the screen towards Qin and Mr. Qin. Look, this is the residual energy analysis I discreetly conducted using a portable scanner on the fragment you had earlier. Sun Xiaoxiao playfully stuck out her tongue. I discovered a rather peculiar phenomenon. Within the residual energy of this fragment, aside from the inherent evil energy, there exists a remarkably faint, neutralizing energy. This energy attribute is quite unique, imbued with a vibrant vitality, seemingly possessing a natural restraining effect against the evil energy. Qin leaned closer to examine the screen. Though he struggled to comprehend the intricate curves, he sensed a familiarity with the special wave bands Sun Xiaoxiao pointed out. This energy felt reminiscent of something he had sensed before. He fell into contemplation. Yang Yingxue and Ali also gazed curiously at the screen. Suddenly, Ali softly exclaimed, extending her delicate finger to a specific point on the screen, murmuring, This feels somewhat like the aura in the courtyard. The aura in the courtyard? Qin jolted in surprise, quickly regaining his composure. He immediately immersed his consciousness into the land beneath his feet, meticulously attuning to the essence of the Ling Tai courtyard itself. Ever since he moved in and established his foundation, he had occasionally sensed that the ground beneath the courtyard harbored a faint yet exceptionally pure and ancient vitality. He had previously attributed it to the advantageous geographical location or perhaps some arrangement made by his grandfather in the past. Now, prompted by Ali's observation and combined with Sun Xiaoxiao's detected data, he gazed incredulously at the ground beneath him. Could it be that something capable of countering the evil energy fragments existed beneath the Ling Tai courtyard? This unexpected revelation caused Qin's heartbeat to quicken. If this were indeed true, the value of this courtyard would transcend that of a mere residence. Chapter 43. The Spirit Seed of the Earth Veins and the Counterattack of the Yamato Nation. The underground of the Ling Tai small courtyard may conceal treasures. This thought, once ignited, clawed at Qin En's mind like a cat's paw. He immediately concentrated, extending his foundational awareness like countless delicate tendrils deep into the earth beneath the small courtyard. Soil, gravel, hibernating insects. His awareness continued to delve deeper, 10 meters, 20 meters. Initially, there were no notable discoveries. Just as Qin En began to wonder if he had misperceived or if the vitality was too faint to capture, his awareness suddenly trembled at approximately 30 meters underground. A wave of energy, though weak, was extraordinarily pure, imbued with vibrant life and an ancient charm, pulsating gently like a slumbering heart. This energy was exceedingly reserved. Had it not been for Qin En's foundational awareness and the subtle hints from the data, he would have been utterly oblivious to its presence. Unlike spirit stones that emanate energy outward, it resembled a deeply buried seed, subtly connected to the surrounding Earth's veins, quietly nourishing this small patch of land. Indeed, it exists. Qin En opened his eyes, a hint of incredulous joy gracing his countenance. What is it? Yang Yingxue inquired eagerly. Sun Xiaoxiao's eyes widened, her scanning device frantically probing the ground, but regrettably, it lacked the necessary depth, capturing only the faintest surface feedback, causing her to stamp her feet in frustration. Qin En took a deep breath, attempting to connect with that energy through his awareness. There was neither rejection nor welcome. The energy continued to pulse at its own rhythm, seemingly indifferent to the outside world. Yet, Qin En could sense a comforting sensation washing over him as his awareness drew near, dispelling the faint shadow he had absorbed while studying the black fragment. What it specifically is, I am uncertain. Qin En retracted his awareness and shook his head, yet the vitality emanating from it indeed shared a source with the neutralizing energy detected in the fragment's remnants. Moreover, it felt ancient, exceedingly powerful. He employed the term powerful not to indicate the level of its energy, but to convey an essence that seemed to originate from the primordial forces of creation, evoking a sense of reverence. I speculate, Qin En mused, that it might be a rare spirit seed of the earth veins or something akin to it. It lies buried here, subtly purifying this land, which is why the malevolent energy residue from the black fragment has been partially neutralized by its power. The spirit seed of the earth veins. Sun Xiaoxiao's eyes sparkled with excitement. As a researcher, albeit focused on spatial technology, she was filled with curiosity about such unknown phenomena. She had only encountered similar terminology in top-secret archives at the headquarters, rumored to be related to the ancient earth vein dragon Qi and exceedingly rare. Mr. Qin, your courtyard is truly a treasure trove. Yang Yingxue, though somewhat bewildered, grasped the crux of the matter. Does this mean there's a treasure beneath our home capable of countering the malevolent fragments of the little devils? One could interpret it that way. Qin En nodded, although it currently appeared faint. Its essence was remarkably high. If they could find a way to nourish it, perhaps, a glimmer of brilliance flickered in his eyes. If they could activate or enhance the power of this spirit seed, it would not only benefit the small courtyard, but might even unveil a method to combat and purify the malevolent energy fragments. This discovery bears immense significance. While Qin En and his companions reveled in their underground find, a crisis was quietly brewing in an old industrial district at the other end of Xiangshan City. On the outskirts of the industrial zone stood an abandoned chemical factory, its rusted pipes and equipment resembling the bones of a colossal beast under the night sky. At this moment, in the deepest part of the factory, near the sewage treatment pool, the air warped, permeated by a noxious stench of chemicals and decay. A woman clad in a black, form-fitting ninja suit, her figure alluring yet imbued with an aura of malevolence, stood by the edge of the sewage pool. She was indeed a member of the Yamato Nation's Yaki organization, codenamed Cos Maria. In her hands, she cradled a piece of black fragment larger and darker than the one Qin En had previously obtained, with a viscous black liquid seemingly flowing across its surface. The great priest Yoshikawa has commanded the activation of the B-17 backup nursery, deploying enhanced malevolent energy fragments. Cos Maria murmured fervently in Yamato, her gaze fervent. Let this place, filled with industrial waste and vengeful spirits, become the cradle for the great divine servants. With a sudden motion, she hurled the black fragment into the foul-smelling, oil-slicked, chemically contaminated sewage pool. Splash! The fragment sank into the inky water without a splash, as if being devoured by the pool. However, soon after, the entire sewage pool began to boil violently, bubbling. The industrial toxins, heavy metals, and the residual grievances of workers who had perished in past factory accidents were frantically extracted and fused by the fragment. Gurgle, gurgle. The pool water thickened, shifting from pitch black to an ominous dark red. A torrent of chaotic and violent malevolent energy, far more intense than the collective malevolence from the Zingfili community, began to erupt. The walls surrounding the factory rapidly oozed a black, viscous liquid akin to oil, writhing and coalescing into twisted monstrosities formed from chemical waste and resentment. They bore no fixed shape. Some resembled contorted pipeline worms, while others resembled swollen corrosive bubbles, emitting hissing corrosive sounds and low, mournful wails. The entire abandoned chemical factory was transforming at an astonishing pace into a realm rife with toxicity and death. Cos Maria surveyed the hellish scene before her, not a trace of fear upon her visage, but rather a satisfied smile. Go forth, my children, spread fear, devour life, and transform this land into the nursery of my God. Meanwhile, Zhao Gang, on duty at the Xiangshan City Security Bureau branch, abruptly stood from his seat, his expression shifting dramatically. On the energy monitoring screen before him, the point representing the abandoned industrial district in the west of the city suddenly erupted with a blinding scarlet alert. The energy readings skyrocketed, surpassing the peak levels recorded during the Zingfili incident. This is bad. The energy response. It is the enhanced malevolent energy fragments from the industrial district. Zhao Gang immediately seized the communicator, his voice urgent. Emergency assembly. All members of Teams 1 and 2 mobilize. Target. The site of the old third chemical factory in the west. Repeat. Target the old site of the Sanhua chemical plant in the western district. Energy level. A threat of the Wuhuan class. A Wuhuan class threat. Equivalent to a mid-stage evil entity of qi refining. This is beyond the capabilities of the Xiangshan branch to handle independently. Zhao Gang rapidly issued commands while decisively dialing Qin En's number. Though it was somewhat difficult to voice, faced with such a grave crisis, he had no choice but to seek assistance from this unfathomable young man. Within the Lingtai courtyard, Qin En had just hung up Zhao Gang's urgent call, his expression grave. What's wrong? Yang Yingxue inquired, noticing his troubled demeanor. Trouble has arisen, Qin En replied solemnly. The unruly individuals from the Wokaku have unleashed a more potent fragment at the abandoned chemical plant in the western district, giving rise to a formidable creature. The Security Bureau has detected that the energy level has reached the Wuhuan class, and they are unable to manage it. Wuhuan class? Yang Yingshue's eyes brightened, not displaying fear, but rather a readiness for action. Perfect. Just as I discovered treasures underground in our home, I was feeling quite pleased, so let us test our skills against this brazen creature. Ali also rose, her silence underscoring her resolute determination. Meanwhile, Sun Xiaoxiao appeared somewhat anxious but quickly retrieved several oddly shaped devices from her magical backpack. I can provide battlefield environment scanning and energy interference support. Seeing the trio, along with a tech expert, swiftly enter a state of readiness, Qin En felt his earlier tension dissipate into fervor. All right, let us stretch our limbs. He grinned, a glint of cold light flashing in his eyes. Perfect, we'll settle both old scores and new ones. Let the little devils know that wreaking havoc on our territory comes at a price. Let us go. The four figures flickered and swiftly vanished from the Lingtai courtyard, racing towards the direction of the ominous energy rising in the western district. A new round of battle was about to commence, and this time, their adversary was more formidable and the environment more treacherous, yet Qin En and his companions felt more confident than ever. Chapter 44. The toxic domain and the demonic embryo in the western part of the city, at the abandoned third chemical plant, an overwhelming stench assaulted the senses long before one could draw near. It was a pungent residue of chemicals typical of a factory, mingled with the foul odor of stagnant sewage, and now tainted by a sinister aroma reminiscent of burning sulfur and rotting flesh. The dark red malevolence enveloped the entire plant like an inverted bowl. Even the moonlight seemed to be shrouded in a foreboding crimson hue. Good heavens, this smell is more intense than an explosion in our school's chemistry lab. Yang Yingxue complained, pinching her nose, yet her eyes sparkled with excitement. Qin En conjured a faint protective barrier of spiritual energy, encasing the four of them and filtering out most of the harmful gases and mental pollution. His expression was grave. The malevolence here was not only more abundant, but also of a more corrupt quality, saturated with the corrosive and destructive nature of industrial toxins. The energy readings are off the charts. The core reaction is deep within the sewage treatment area. There are numerous high-energy malevolent entities nearby. Sun Xiaoxiao reported rapidly, her face flushed with a mix of anxiety and exhilaration. She was clad in a high-tech silver vest adorned with blinking indicators. Ali's fox ears and tail had manifested uncontrollably. She bared her teeth slightly, emitting a low growl. The malevolence here was profoundly uncomfortable for her, the pure filth and degradation clashing with her innate essence as a Jiawei Tianhu. At the entrance of the plant, Zhao Gang led a team from the security bureau, while members of the second team had already set up a barricade, all donning gas masks and appearing tense. Upon seeing Qin Un and his companions, Zhao Gang hurried forward, his urgency and concern evident even through his mask. "Mr. Qin, you've arrived." Zhao Gang's voice was slightly distorted through the mask. "The situation is dire. The malevolent entities inside are still growing. Their energy levels have stabilized at the mid-stage of the martial emperor realm, and the corruption they produce is highly corrosive and toxic. We attempted a breach, but our equipment could not withstand it. One of our team members was contaminated by the escaping gas, and their protective suit was corroded." He pointed to a teammate receiving emergency treatment, whose protective suit was visibly melted at the arm, revealing swollen, ulcerated skin seeping dark vapor. Dual erosion from both physical and energy sources? Qin furrowed his brow. This was far more troublesome than the simple mental pollution encountered in the past. "Let me take a look." Sun Xiaoxiao retrieved a small spray canister from her pouch and sprayed it on the injured team member's wound. A cool, faintly green mist enveloped the injury, sizzling as it suppressed the creeping black vapor and halted further deterioration. "This is the latest cleansing spray developed by the Research Institute. It has some efficacy against low-level malevolent energy contamination, but it won't suffice against the larger entity inside," Sun Xiaoxiao explained. Zhao Gang and his team were taken aback. Regarding Sun Xiaoxiao, the newly appointed technical advisor, with newfound respect. "Thank you, Xiaoxiao." Qin nodded to her, then turned to Zhao Gang. "You all stay outside, clearing any stragglers and preventing the malevolence from spreading. We will handle the larger entities inside." Zhao Gang understood that their presence would only be a hindrance and solemnly replied, "Please take care. We have requested reinforcements from headquarters, but it will take time for them to arrive." Without further ado, Qin led Yang Yingxue, Ali, and Sun Xiaoxiao into the realm of dark red malevolence. Upon entering the factory grounds, it felt as though they had stepped into another world. The ground was coated with a thick, bubbling black sludge, and the air was laden with visible, colorful toxic mists. Various twisted creatures clung to the surrounding pipes and machinery. Some resembled centipedes fashioned from discarded plastics and metal scraps. Others were corrosive spheres oozing strong acidic liquid. While some were simply pools of active sludge with devouring capabilities, they howled and surged toward the four intruders. "Disgusting," Yang Yingxue exclaimed, disregarding the filth, as the power of her dominant blood thunder surged, her palms crackling with lightning. Thunderclap palm, thunderstorm, boom. A robust purple bolt of lightning erupted from her, radiating outward, the sheer force of the thunder becoming the bane of the vile entities. The leading corrosive spheres and plastic centipedes were instantly vaporized, leaving a charred expanse on the once sticky ground. Ali was not idle either. Her eyes glimmered with pink light as she unleashed her Jiawei Tianhu's enchanting power, not to beguile, but to instill chaos and fear. The oncoming malevolent creatures froze, seemingly entrapped in an illusion. Some began attacking one another, while others emitted terrified shrieks, spinning in place. This created an excellent opportunity for Yang Yingxue and Qin to unleash their powers. Sun Xiaoxiao took cover behind Qin's energy shield, her hands flying over a floating keyboard. 3 o'clock on the left, a cluster of corrosive spheres, energy node at the core. There are stealth units on the right side. Their energy signatures are concealed. She accurately reported the positions and weaknesses of the enemies, resembling a human radar. Qin refrained from striking immediately. His consciousness was firmly fixed on the core direction of the sewage treatment pool. There, a pulsating mass of malevolent energy, akin to a heart, was swelling with rage and toxicity. The four worked in perfect harmony, advancing swiftly deeper into the plant. As they moved, lightning surged, illusions flourished, and the vile entities disintegrated. Yet, the further they ventured, The more intense and numerous the malevolent entities became, the dark red malevolence thickening and even beginning to erode Qin En's energy shield, emitting a hissing corrosive sound. This cannot continue. The energy consumption is too rapid. Qin En sensed the mounting pressure on the shield. They needed to resolve the core issue swiftly. A fierce glint flashed in his eyes as he formed hand seals and intoned, "Golden light, swiftly manifest, protect the true self. Golden light incantation, dispel the malevolence." Buzz. The golden light surrounding him intensified, resembling a blazing golden sun, expanding outward with force. The encroaching malevolence, toxic mists, and low-level malevolent beings were instantly purified upon contact with the golden light, dissolving like ice under the sun. In the midst of the filthy domain, a fleeting path of golden light was carved out. "Go!" Qin En charged ahead, racing along the path straight towards the sewage treatment pool. Yang Yingxue and Ali closely followed, while Sun Xiaoxiao gritted her teeth, clutching her equipment as she kept pace. Upon their arrival at the sewage treatment pool area, even Qin En, who had braced himself for the sight, could not suppress a gasp of horror. The once massive sewage pool had been entirely obliterated, replaced by a colossal tumor, writhing incessantly, composed of viscous black liquid, corroded metal, chemical waste, and the anguished souls of countless industrial spirits. The surface of the tumor was riddled with pulsating abscesses oozing toxic fluid, alongside countless wailing faces and struggling arms. At the core of this grotesque mass, a larger piece of black fragment flickered like a heartbeat, emanating a sinister glow that supplied a continuous stream of malevolent energy to this toxic abomination. Beneath the tumor, the Japanese female ninja, Xiaozhe Ma Liya, knelt in fervent devotion, murmuring incantations as if conducting some nefarious ritual. "It is it." Sun Xiaoxiao's scanner emitted a piercing alarm, signaling the energy core. Physical and energy resistance is exceedingly high. Weakness. Analyzing. No discernible weakness found. The malignant entity seemed to sense the threat, and the multitude of abscesses on its surface erupted simultaneously, unleashing a torrential rain of highly corrosive venom. Concurrently, the struggling arms elongated violently, resembling black tendrils, howling through the air as they reached toward the four, attempting to ensnare and strike them. "Beware of the venom," Qin En shouted, pushing the golden light spell to its utmost limit, shielding most of the poison from their vicinity. Though the golden barrier quivered violently, its hue dimming considerably, Yang Yingxue let out a fierce roar, her vitality burning without restraint, enveloped in a pale purple lightning aura. She unleashed a series of thunderous palm strikes, shattering the encroaching tendrils with explosive force. Ali, with all her might, conjured illusions, creating layers of deceptive barriers around the group to disrupt the creature's attacks and perception. Sun Xiaoxiao's face turned pale. Yet she swiftly operated her device. "This won't do. Conventional energy attacks are ineffective. Its structure is too chaotic. Physical blows and energy impacts will be absorbed and dispersed, unless we can annihilate its core in one blow, or discover a force that counters its vile essence." A force that counters its vile essence. Qin En's mind stirred as he recalled the spiritual seed deep beneath the courtyard. That vibrant, pure energy was the natural nemesis of this foul, malevolent energy. Yet, he could not summon the power of the underground spirit seed at this moment. Must we rely on brute strength? Just as Qin En pondered a strategy, the kneeling Xiaozhe Ma Liya suddenly rose, turning to face them with a cruel and enchanting smile, speaking in halting Chinese. "Foolish Xina people, you dare disturb the gestation of the poison god fetus. Become the nourishment for its growth." She formed hand seals, channeling a chilling chakra into the malignant entity. A deafening roar erupted from the creature, the black fragment at its core glowing ominously, causing the entire tumor to violently contract before expanding with ferocity. A colossal wave of malevolent energy, infused with countless negative emotions and industrial toxins, surged toward Qin En and his companions like a devastating tsunami. This assault far surpassed the previous one. Even Qin En's golden barrier emitted a mournful cry under the strain, with fine cracks appearing across its surface. Chapter 45. The vitality against evil and the desperate escape confronted with a wave of malevolent energy potent enough to obliterate the martial emperor. Qin En's pupils dilated in shock. It was clear that a direct confrontation would be futile. The golden light spell was on the verge of shattering. If struck by this toxic and corrosive dark energy, the repercussions would be unimaginable. In a fleeting moment, the essence of the earth vein spirit seed, brimming with vitality, flashed through his mind, along with the notion of countering the foul essence as mentioned by Sun Xiaoxiao. There was no alternative left. He had to take a gamble. Gritting his teeth, Qin made a bold decision. Rather than reinforcing his defenses or launching a counterattack, he chose to activate a significant portion of his foundational true essence in a unique manner. He recalled the life-affirming resonance he felt upon encountering the earth vein spirit seed, striving to emulate and channel it into his own true essence. Simultaneously, he called out to Yang Yingxue and Ali, imploring them, "Yingxue, Ali, lend me your strength. I only need the purest essence of your lifeblood and demonic power, irrespective of attributes." Although Yang Yingxue and Ali were perplexed by Qin's intentions, their absolute trust in him compelled them to comply without hesitation. The profound blood essence of Yang Yingxue's ancient tyrannical lineage and Ali's pure nine-tailed fox origin energy surged into Qin like two torrents, unreservedly merging with him. Three distinctly different, yet fundamentally interconnected sources of power began to forcibly integrate under the mystical influence of the yin-yang ascension technique. This process was perilously precarious. A moment's carelessness could lead to catastrophic failure. Yet, at that moment, Qin had no room for trepidation. A peculiar wave emanated from Qin, no longer a mere golden spiritual power, nor the purple lightning or pink allure, but a chaotic, pale green radiance imbued with the primal vitality and creation reminiscent of the dawn of existence. This glow, while not dazzling, exuded a profound life force that seemed capable of reviving withered wood and purifying the world's impurities. What was this? Sun Xiaoxiao stared in astonishment at the scanner, which displayed wildly fluctuating readings indicative of an extraordinarily high life level and purifying attributes. In an instant, the malevolent energy wave was upon him. Qin thrust his palms forward, as if sowing seeds, dispersing the chaotic pale green light ahead. There was no cataclysmic explosion, nor the roar of colliding energies. It was akin to pouring boiling water over accumulated snow. The devastating wave of dark energy, upon encountering the pale green light, seemed to meet its nemesis, emitting a hissing sound as it dissolved. The dense dark red malevolence visibly thinned, its toxins, corrosive energies, and chaotic resentment swiftly neutralized and purified by the vibrant green light. Wherever the pale green glow passed, impurities receded and malevolence dissipated. Even the sticky ground regained some of its original hue. This scene left both Yang Yingxue and Ali dumbfounded, while even Cos Maria, who had been poised to relish the spectacle of her prey's demise, found her malicious grin frozen in sheer astonishment and disbelief. "Baka, this is impossible. What power is this? How can it counter the might of the great ancient gods?" Cos Maria shrieked in despair. Qin, equally astonished and elated, had not anticipated that his desperate measure of emulating the earth vein spirit seed's vitality would yield such remarkable results. Though this nearly drained him and the two women of their strength, it was worth it. The toxic domain's demonic fetus seemed gravely injured, emitting a wretched howl, its immense fleshly tumor convulsing violently, with pus-filled sores bursting and oozing foul liquid, its presence significantly weakened. A prime opportunity. Yang Yingxue reacted swiftly. Despite the immense energy expenditure, her combat spirit soared. Seizing the moment of weakness, she resolved to deliver a fatal blow. Drawing in a breath of true energy, she concentrated the remaining tyrannical blood lightning essence into her right palm, transforming herself into a streak of purple lightning aimed directly at the flickering black shard at the core of the demonic fetus. Lightning cut. This time, there was no sensation of being dispersed and absorbed as before. The demonic fetus, weakened by the pale green life force, had significantly reduced defenses. Yang Yingxue's palm penetrated the tumor like a hot knife through butter, grasping the larger black shard with determination. A howl of desperation erupted from the demonic fetus, its fleshly mass beginning to collapse uncontrollably, dissolving into a putrid mess. Seeing this, Cos Maria's expression shifted drastically. She realized her mission had utterly failed. Even the enhanced shards could be lost. Damn it! Retreat. Without hesitation, she formed quick hand seals. Shadow escape technique. Her body transformed into a cloud of black smoke, melding into the shadows of the ground, rapidly fleeing toward the outskirts of the factory. Her speed was astonishing, clearly a last resort for survival. Attempting to escape, Qin En's gaze turned cold. Despite his considerable fatigue, he could not allow this Japanese ninja to flee easily. Pointing his fingers like a sword, a condensed foundational sword energy surged forth, piercing through the air, swiftly catching up to the shadow. A cry of pain escaped Koz Maria amidst the shadows, a trickle of blood falling from the darkness. Yet her speed remained unabated, disappearing in an instant within the intricate shadows of the factory. Qin En furrowed his brows. The opponent's escape technique was indeed bizarre, and in the midst of her desperate flight, his hasty strike had not managed to detain her, merely inflicting an injury. At that moment, Yang Yingxue emerged from the collapsing demonic fetus, clutching the still quivering, resistant black shard. Though her complexion was slightly pale, her eyes shone brightly. It's done. This one is far more potent than the last. With the core shard extracted, the toxic domain's demonic fetus lost all support, collapsing rapidly like a melting wax figure, transforming into a pool of foul oil and remnants. The dark red malevolence enveloping the factory began to dissipate slowly. We succeeded. Sun Xiaoxiao cheered, rushing to assist Yang Yingxue in containing the restless shard, sealing it within a specially crafted container. Ali also breathed a sigh of relief, retracting her demonic power, her expression weary. Feeling the emptiness in his dantian and the fatigue in his consciousness, Qin En chuckled bitterly. This battle had not been easily won, yet it had validated the formidable counteracting effect of the Earth Vein Spirit Seed's vitality, as well as the astonishing potential unleashed by their combined efforts. It seemed he would need to thoroughly investigate how to harness or awaken the treasures beneath in the future. Qin En gazed at the ravaged chemical factory, his thoughts swirling. Zhao Gang, accompanied by the members of the Security Bureau, cautiously entered the factory area. Observing the devastation left behind after the purification and the sealed enhancement fragments, his admiration for Qin En and his companions deepened immeasurably. Mr. Qin, Miss Yang, Miss Ali, Consultant Sun, I am profoundly grateful to you all. If it weren't for your efforts, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Zhao Gang exclaimed with fervor. I will promptly report your commendable actions to my superiors. Qin En waved his hand dismissively, as his sole desire at that moment was to return home for a well-deserved rest, while also contemplating the study of the more potent fragment and how to engage with the spiritual essence residing beneath his abode. Meanwhile, the beleaguered Koz Maria was hiding in a shadowy corner of the city's sewer system, clutching her shoulder where the deep, bone-exposing wound from the sword energy throbbed painfully. Her complexion was ashen, her eyes brimming with malice and dread. Qin En, I shall remember you. Await the wrath of Yachi. Soon, you will be reduced to ashes. She retrieved an encrypted communicator with great difficulty, sending a message of mission failure and the encounter with formidable foes. The turmoil had not subsided. Rather, it escalated due to the emergence of this enhancement fragment and the restrained power exhibited by Qin En, intensifying the conflict between both parties. Chapter 46. Attention from the headquarters in the meeting room of the Xiangshan Security Bureau branch. The lights shone brightly, casting a glow over an atmosphere tinged with the relief of survival and an uncontrollable excitement. The branch chief, a middle-aged man named Zhou Weigua, approximately in his 50s, with meticulously groomed hair and a demeanor as steady as a mountain, was one of the strongest figures in Xiangshan City, standing at the pinnacle of the martial emperor realm. At this moment, he attentively listened to Zhao Gang's detailed report, occasionally glancing at the individuals seated opposite him. Qin En, Yang Yingxue, Ali, and the somewhat timid Sun Xiaoxiao beside Qin En. That is the situation, Chief Zhou, Zhao Gang concluded, his voice still brimming with excitement. Had it not been for Mr. Qin and his companion's timely arrival, utilizing a peculiar life force to severely damage that poisonous demonic embryo, we would have been unable to address this crisis, which could have resulted in significant casualties and immeasurable environmental pollution. Zhou Weigua nodded, a hint of warmth breaking through his authoritative facade as he turned to Qin and young friend Qin En, as well as Miss Yang Yingxue, Miss Ali, and Consultant Sun Xiaoxiao. I extend my heartfelt gratitude on behalf of the Xiangshan branch and the nation. You have not only saved numerous lives, but also thwarted a serious destructive operation by hostile forces from Japan. His gaze lingered on Qin En for a moment, filled with unabashed admiration and curiosity. To possess the strength to effortlessly neutralize a martial emperor-level threat at such a young age, and to wield a mysterious power that counteracts malevolent energy, surpassed even the understanding of this branch chief. You are too kind, Chief Zhou, It was merely a fortunate coincidence, Qin replied with a smile, maintaining a respectful yet composed demeanor. He held a favorable impression of the calm and upright branch chief. Xiao Xiao merely assisted a bit. Sun Xiao quietly interjected, twisting the hem of her clothing. Yang Yingxue, however, waved her hand dismissively. Chief Zhou, there's no need for excessive praise. How about something more tangible? Perhaps a bonus? Zhou Weiguo was momentarily taken aback before bursting into laughter. Miss Yang speaks candidly. Rest assured, you will receive every deserved reward. I have already prepared the necessary documentation to apply to the headquarters for the highest level dragon pattern medal and corresponding resource rewards, including but not limited to cash, training resources, and certain internal privileges. The dragon pattern medal? Qin had not heard of this before. Zhao Gang leaned in to explain softly. It is the highest honor within our security bureau system, granting numerous privileges to its holders, such as access to higher officials and the ability to mobilize local resources when necessary. Typically, only top-tier experts with remarkable contributions to the nation are awarded this. It sounded impressive. Qin nodded noncommittally. While he was indifferent about the medal, he had some interest in the training resources and internal privileges. Zhou Weiguo continued. Additionally, regarding the life force you possess that can counteract fragments of malevolent energy, I wonder. He did not finish his thought. But the implication was clear. He hoped Qin would share or collaborate on research. Anticipating this inquiry, Qin replied directly. Chief Zhou, to be candid, that power does not stem from our own cultivation, but is related to a specific underground vein beneath our residence in Lingtai Xiaoyuan. We discovered it by chance and currently cannot actively or extensively mobilize it. This time was merely a desperate measure. He spoke half-truths, attributing their success to the underground vein while concealing the essence of the yin-yang ascension technique and their dual cultivation. The existence of the spiritual vein could explain the source of their life force and somewhat protect their secrets. The underground vein? Zhou Weiguo's eyes sparkled with interest. As a martial emperor at the pinnacle, he was vaguely aware of the legends surrounding dragon energy associated with underground veins. If Lingtai Xiaoyuan indeed possessed such a treasure, its strategic value would be incalculable. After pondering for a moment, he said solemnly, I see. In that case, we will not press further. However, young friend Qin, I hope we can establish a deeper cooperative relationship. You provide the necessary martial support and limited assistance with that life force, while our security bureau will do our utmost to offer you intelligence, resources, and necessary protection. You must understand that following this incident, the Yachi organization will undoubtedly target you as a priority. Qin nodded. Zhou Weiguo's words resonated with truth. The Japanese, known for their vindictiveness, would surely bring trouble in the future. A deep alliance with the Security Bureau would be more beneficial than detrimental. Agreed, Qin readily accepted. For specific cooperation details, let Captain Zhao and Xiao Xiao connect with us. He gently nudged Sun Xiao forward, knowing her straightforward nature and technical expertise would make interactions easier. Sun Xiao straightened her posture instantly, nodding vigorously. I promised to complete the task. With the matters settled, the atmosphere grew even more congenial. Zhou Weiguo inquired about Sun Xiao's adaptation with Qin, mainly concerned about his precious consultant being mistreated, and personally escorted the four out of the bureau building. Watching them depart, Zhou Weiguo's smile gradually faded, and he turned to Zhao Gang with a serious tone. Immediately classify tonight's battle details, especially the analysis report on Qin's life force, as top secret, and submit it directly to the headquarters. I suspect we in Xiangshan may truly be welcoming a hidden dragon. Zhao Gang's expression turned grave. Understood. In the depths of the Daxian National Security Bureau's Supernatural Phenomenon Management and Response Headquarters, within a technologically advanced office, an elderly man dressed in a Zhongshan suit, his hair streaked with gray, yet eyes as deep as the starry sky, gazed at the encrypted report just received from the Xiangshan branch. He was one of the three high-ranking officials of the Security Bureau, a Jidan stage expert named Li Dei. Upon reading the report detailing Qin's purification of malevolent energy with his mysterious life force and the potential existence of a spiritual vein, a flicker of emotion finally crossed his otherwise impassive face. Chaotic life force, counteracting filth, spiritual vein, he murmured, his fingers lightly tapping the table. This Qin is rather intriguing. It seems the time has come to send someone to Xiangshan for a closer investigation. He picked up the internal communicator and spoke with a grave tone. Summon Qinglong teams Xi and Xian to see me. Chapter 47. The Essence of the Earth and the New Strategy of Wa Country. The Lingtai Shao Yuan has once again resumed its former bustling activity. To the left, to the left. Oh dear, how clumsy you are, Xiao Lili. Do not pick that mushroom, it is poisonous. Xiao Xiao, what is that detector you have? Point it accurately. Yes, right beneath this stone. I sense the energy here is most pleasant. Yang Yingxue commanded with remarkable dexterity, while Ali obediently followed her instructions, carefully digging with a small shovel. Meanwhile, Sun Xiao Xiao wielded various peculiar devices to scan the flowers, grasses, and the brick surface of the courtyard, with data scrolling rapidly across the screen. Qinan sat on a stone bench, observing this fervent scene with a mix of amusement and exasperation. Ever since returning from the chemical plant battle and confirming the potential existence of the Earth's essence beneath the courtyard, Yang Yingxue and Sun Xiao Xiao had developed an immense enthusiasm for treasure hunting and research. Even Ali had been recruited into their ranks. In Qinan's view, the essence of the earth was deeply buried, intertwined with the veins of the land. Forceful excavation might yield contrary results, even jeopardizing the essence itself. The optimal approach would be to nurture it gradually, attempting to communicate and subtly guide its power. However, it was evident that Yang Yingxue and Sun Xiao Xiao preferred a more proactive strategy. Qinan, come quickly, we made a discovery. Sun Xiao Xiao suddenly exclaimed with excitement. Qinan approached and saw that the screen of her detector displayed an energy map beneath a small bamboo grove in the southeastern corner of the courtyard. Compared to other areas, the vitality energy response there was indeed richer and more vibrant, as if something were breathing. Based on the energy flow model analysis, this could be a faint spiritual eye or an energy leak point. Sun Xiao Xiao adjusted her non-existent glasses, her face flushed with exhilaration. If we could set up a gathering formation here, perhaps we could more effectively converge and guide the vitality energy emanating from the Earth's essence, or even attempt to establish initial contact with it. A gathering formation? Qinan's heart stirred. This indeed was a feasible idea. The ancient texts left by his grandfather contained records about basic formations, and he had previously studied a bit for alchemical safety. Formation? It sounds thrilling. I shall assist you. Yang Yingxue immediately expressed her interest, rolling up her sleeves. Without delay, Qinan recalled from memory the layout method for the simplest small gathering formation, which required materials infused with spiritual energy as a foundation. Although the Safety Bureau's rewards had not yet been delivered, they had previously collected some jade stones and minerals containing faint spiritual energy from the sponsorship of the Martial Association and the Li family. Qinan was responsible for inscribing the formation patterns, Yang Yingxue for solidifying the foundation with her remarkable strength, Ali for passing tools and correcting subtle energy deviations with her keen perception, and Sun Xiao Xiao for monitoring the energy flow with her devices, ensuring the formation would not deviate or, heaven forbid, explode again. After toiling for most of the day, they finally arranged a simple gathering formation about 3 meters in diameter, composed of jade stone and special minerals, beside the small bamboo grove at sunset. When the final spiritual stone was embedded in the central groove as the formation's eye, the entire formation trembled slightly, emitting an inaudible hum. The surrounding air seemed to become fresher, with faint, almost imperceptible pale green light points seeping from the ground. Drawn towards the formation's eye, we succeeded, Sun Xiao Xiao exclaimed in jubilation, observing the slowly but steadily rising vitality energy readings on the screen. Yang Yingxue felt her body and mind relax, unable to resist taking a deep breath. It seems a bit different now. The air here feels sweet. Ali squinted her eyes, her face displaying a look of comfort, as she sensed her demonic power flowing more smoothly in this vibrant environment. Qinan attentively sensed the weak vitality energy gathering at the formation's eye. Although the quantity was minimal, its quality was exceptionally high, brimming with life force. He attempted to guide a sliver of it into his body and instantly felt a significant alleviation of his previous fatigue. His true essence recovery accelerated slightly. It works. A smile graced Qinan's face. Though this merely represented an initial guidance of a minuscule portion of the Earth's essence's naturally dissipated energy, it was an exceedingly promising beginning. In due time, as they deepened their understanding of the formation or discovered better materials, they might truly activate and harness the power of this Earth's essence. This small gathering formation resembled a tiny breathing hole for the slumbering essence. While Qinan and the others rejoiced over the success of the formation. Far away in the capital of Wa Country, Within the ancient shrine headquarters of Yaki, hidden deep in the forest, a dimly lit tatami room filled with the scent of sandalwood, Maria Koizumi, whose shoulder was still bandaged, knelt trembling on the floor. Before her sat two individuals. In the main seat was an elderly man clad in a black priest's robe, his gaunt face and eyes as dark as an abyss. He was one of the highest leaders of the Yaki organization, the Grand Priest Amaterasu Yuji. Beside him sat a young woman adorned in an extravagant kimono, her beauty striking yet her gaze as cold as a serpent's. Her name was Sato Aimi, a senior operative responsible for intelligence and assassination within the Yaki organization, her true strength unfathomable. Useless. Amaterasu Yuji's voice was hoarse and frigid, like a knife scraping bone. Not only did you fail the mission, losing precious fragments of the sacred essence, but you have also brought such loss upon Yaki. Koizumi, do you understand your crime? Yes. I acknowledge my wrongdoing. Please punish me, Grand Priest. Maria Koizumi buried her head lower, her voice trembling. Punishment? Sato Aimi chuckled softly, her voice alluring yet chilling. Simply letting her die would be too merciful, and it would not compensate for the organization's loss. She lifted her teacup delicately, taking a sip before continuing. According to the intelligence brought back by Koizumi, that individual named Chin and possesses a vitality energy capable of countering the powers of the sacred essence. This is unprecedented. It appears there are unexpected variables emerging from the Great Xia. A flash of severity crossed Amaterasu Yuji's murky eyes. To possess the ability to counter the power of the ancient gods. This boy must not be allowed to live. We must eliminate him completely before he matures. Confronting him head-on may not be wise. Shiyamali set down her teacup, her slender fingers gently tapping the table. Even the formidable poison god fetus birth from the enhanced holy seed had been vanquished by them. The prowess of that Chinin was, at the very least, comparable to that of our elite shinobi, potentially even surpassing it. Moreover, it appeared that the official Longzhu of Daxia had taken notice of their activities. A direct assault would come at too great a cost, risking alarming the adversary. What do you imply? A beguiling smile graced Shiyamali's face. If a direct attack is unfeasible, then we shall employ cunning. We can alter our method of sowing the seeds. Oh, according to intelligence reports, besides the violent little girl and the suspected fox demon accompanying Chinin, there had recently appeared a young girl from the Daxia authorities, seemingly endowed with spatial abilities. A calculating glimmer sparkled in Shiyamali's eyes. Young individuals, particularly those imbued with power, are often prone to arrogance, vanity, and susceptible to external temptations. We can select suitable seeds, disguise our identities, and approach them, infiltrating their ranks. Alternatively, we could set traps in the locations they frequent, shifting our objective from creating widespread chaos to capturing or eliminating these specific individuals. For instance, as Shiyamali's smile deepened, she mused, I know that the youth of Daxiao are quite fond of something known as online gaming. Perhaps we can prepare a surprise for them there? Tianzhao Yuren pondered for a moment before nodding slowly. Agreed. You shall take full responsibility for this matter. Remember, success is the only option. Failure is not tolerated. If necessary, you may employ that. Rest assured, I shall not disappoint the esteemed divine official. Shiyamali replied, bowing in acknowledgement, a perilous smile of determination flickering across her enchanting visage. Thus, a more insidious and covert conspiracy targeting Chinin and those around him began to silently unfold. Chapter 48. Qinglong, Xian Xian, and the virtual trap. The tranquil days in the Lingtai courtyard were short-lived, as new turmoil soon followed. On that afternoon, Chinin was attempting to guide the meager life energy gathered by the small gathering array to nourish his meridians, consolidating his cultivation at the mid-foundation stage. Yang Yingxue and Ah Li were inside the house, engrossed in a popular online game of the Xinxiao genre, their exuberant shouts occasionally echoing out. Sun Xiaoxiao was in her makeshift studio, analyzing remnants of sinister artifacts brought back from a chemical factory alongside a sealed enhancement fragment. A knock at the courtyard gate interrupted their activities. This visitor was not Zhao Gang, but a woman whom Qin and had never seen before, dressed in a fitted azure outfit that accentuated her graceful yet powerful form. She stood at a height comparable to Shen Xinyu, yet her aura was entirely distinct. While Shen Xinyu emanated a chilling coldness, this woman resembled a blade unsheathed, radiating a sharp and formidable brilliance. Her beauty was striking, with a countenance that bore an undeniable air of heroism and pride. Her eyes sparkled with intensity, as if capable of piercing through to the depths of one's soul. Most notably, several vibrant streaks of flame-like red were woven into her flowing black hair. Qin and spiritual sense swept over her, and he was slightly taken aback to discern that she was at the initial stage of foundation establishment, and her foundation was remarkably solid, exuding a fierce energy. This was the first genuine cultivator he had encountered aside from himself. It appeared this was the depth of the National Security Bureau's headquarters. "May I inquire if Qin and Dao Yu is present?" The woman's voice rang clear, imbued with a natural confidence, her gaze landing squarely on Qin, clearly recognizing him at a glance. "That would be me. And you are?" Qin rose, a sense of caution stirring within him. This woman was formidable, and her intentions were unclear. "I am Xian from the Qinglong team of the Supernatural Bureau's Direct Action Unit." She introduced herself succinctly, extending an ancient-looking metal token that pulsated with a stronger energy, engraved with the vivid depiction of a Qinglong. "On the orders of elderly Dowie, I have come to Xiangshan to assist in matters pertaining to the seeding plan and to establish contact with you, Dao Yu." Elderly Dowie? The bigwig of the Bureau? The Qinglong team? Qin accepted the token, probing it with his spiritual sense to confirm its authenticity, his heart growing more solemn. The Bureau's response was remarkably swift, and they had dispatched a core member at the foundation stage. "Xian, please come in." Qin gestured for her to enter the courtyard. As Xian stepped into the courtyard, her keen gaze swept the surroundings, momentarily lingering on the faintly operating small gathering array in the corner, a flicker of surprise crossing her features before she quickly regained her composure. She also noticed Yang Yingxue and Ali peeking out from the house, nodding slightly to acknowledge them. "Dao Yu Qin, let us dispense with pleasantries," Xian stated directly. "Elderly is very concerned about your activities in Xiangshan, as well as the power you possess to restrain malevolent energy. I have two primary tasks for this visit. First, to assist the Xiangshan branch in preventing and eradicating further infiltration and destruction from the Japanese eight-headed organization. Second," she fixed a serious gaze upon Qin, "I hope to exchange insights on cultivation, particularly in dealing with malevolent energy fragments." Her demeanor was straightforward and candid, possessing a military-like briskness that, while somewhat arrogant, was not off-putting. Qin smiled. "Exchanges are welcome. We can learn from each other. However, the power to restrain malevolent energy primarily originates from the ley lines beneath this courtyard. We acquired it by chance and are still unable to wield it with full control." Xian nodded, seemingly unperturbed by this answer. The spirit seed of ley lines is a rare fortune. For Dao Yu to have encountered such an opportunity is indeed a blessing. The Bureau hopes to collaborate with you in researching how to utilize this power more effectively against the seeding plan. In return, the Bureau can grant access to some of its cultivation libraries and resource repositories and provide enhanced security for you and your companions. The proposition was tempting. Qin pondered. Collaborating with the Bureau would undoubtedly grant him access to more core information and resources. Yet it also meant a deeper entanglement in the official conflict with Japan. Agreed, Qin ultimately consented. Risks and opportunities coexisted, and he needed the support of the authorities to counter the potential retaliation from the eight-headed organization. "Excellent." A smile broke across Xian's face, radiant as the first thaw of spring. "Then let us embark on this collaboration joyfully." At that moment, a furious scream erupted from within the house. "Ah! Who the hell is the bastard that ambushed me? They stole my precious artifact." Immediately, Ali's voice followed, sounding somewhat aggrieved. "Sister Yingxue, mine was taken too." Qin and Xian exchanged a glance before stepping inside. They found young Yingxue fuming as she hurled her game controller, the screen displaying her character sprawled on the ground, surrounded by scattered equipment. Ali's character lay fallen nearby. "What happened?" Qin inquired. "I don't know where this group came from, but they are well-equipped and highly skilled, specifically lying in wait to ambush us. This is the third time." Yang Yingxue gritted her teeth. "If I find out who they are, I swear I'll deal with them in the real world." Sun Xiaoxiao rushed in, clutching her tablet. "I tracked those individuals' IPs. It's strange, as if they passed through multiple layers of disguise. Ultimately, I cannot pinpoint their source. But several data packets exhibit a certain, subtly abnormal fluctuation." "Abnormal fluctuations?" Qin's brow furrowed, a sense of vigilance rising within him. Could this be mere coincidence? Xian observed the game screen, deep in thought. This game has recently stirred some rumors within the supernatural community. It is said that its virtual engine interfaces with a form of weak artificial intelligence, occasionally interacting unpredictably with the faint energy fields of reality. Though the probability is exceedingly low, her words set off alarm bells in Qinen's mind. Combined with Sun Xiaoxiao's discovery of abnormal data fluctuations and the targeted ambushes, this was likely no simple gaming rivalry. Could it be that the Japanese had extended their reach into the virtual realm? Was this their so-called cunning and traps? Xiao, can you reverse trace or analyze further information? Qinen asked in a serious tone. Sun Xiao nodded vigorously. I'll give it a try. Just need a bit of time. Xian Xian's expression grew grave. If this truly is the work of the eight-headed organization, then they are far more pervasive than we had imagined. The snares of the virtual realm are insidious and inescapable. Qinen gazed at the dimly lit avatar on the screen, his eyes cold as ice. Ah, you little devils, resorting to underhanded tactics, are you? Unable to prevail in reality. You seek to ambush in the digital domain? I shall see what tricks these furtive individuals can conjure within this virtual expanse. Ingxue, Ollie, a dangerous smile curled at the corners of Qinen's lips. Let us log in. It is time to confront these so-called friends. Thus, a new battle, intertwining reality and the virtual world, quietly commenced. Chapter 49. The initial glimmer of the sword shadow in the game world. Jiuzhou Piao Miao Lu, Dongsheng Xinzhou, Hei Feng Shan Map. The characters of Qinan, known as Ichuan Jinren, Yang Ingxue, as Leihua Nuxia, Ali as Schulinger, and the freshly registered player Qing Feng, played by Xian Xian, gathered at the location where Yang Ingxue and Ali had previously been ambushed. Surrounding them was a sinister valley, adorned with jagged rocks and shrouded in a faint black mist, notorious in the game as a P-zone. At that moment, aside from a few wandering low-level monsters, no other players were in sight. This is the place. Yang Ingxue maneuvered her red-clad female swordsman, furiously spinning around, convinced that their assailants were lurking in some hidden corner. Qinen, controlling his humble Taoist character, immersed himself in the virtual realm. It was undeniable that the game demonstrated an exceptional level of realism. Although it could not replicate spiritual energy and divine perception, the influence on the five senses was strikingly authentic. He could even faintly sense the energy fluctuations in the air, reminiscent of the weakened malevolent energy fragments from reality. Such a feat was beyond the capabilities of an ordinary game. The residual energy was faint yet undeniably present, originating from the same source as the malevolent energy in reality, albeit diluted and disguised. Xian Xian's cool voice emanated through the team's voice chat. She had chosen a character, a green-clad female swordsman bearing a long sword, which perfectly matched her own temperament. She seemed exceptionally attuned to energy perception, even within the virtual world. Ollie, the Fox Clan mage, stood quietly to the side, her curiosity about this bizarre world evident as she occasionally reached out to touch the drifting lights. Xiao, do we have any external monitoring results? Qin inquired into the microphone. In reality, Sun Xiao was using her equipment to monitor the game server's data flow and their brainwave connections. The data flow is still quite chaotic. Their IPs are as slippery as loaches. However, I have detected that they have logged in. They are nearby. The energy fluctuations are more pronounced than before. Sun Xiao's voice was laced with tension and excitement. No sooner had she spoken than 5 figures emerged, dimly visible around the bend of the valley. Leading them was a rogue named Ing Jia, clad in jet-black leather armor, casually toying with 2 daggers that glimmered with a green light. Following him was a burly shield warrior known as Gangtai Billy, a voluptuous female warrior named Yao Run Hongya wielding dual blades, a sorcerer cloaked in darkness called Zhou Yuan, and an archer known as Ing Chue Shui. These 5 individuals were well-equipped, emanating a chilling aura that starkly contrasted with their surroundings. Despite the game's system's attempts at disguise, both Qin and Xian Xian were nearly certain that these were members of the Japanese faction, Yawaguchi. It's them. Upon seeing her adversaries, Yang Ingshue's temper flared, and she maneuvered her character to charge forward. Wait. Qin and Xian Xian spoke simultaneously to halt her. Qin cautioned, don't act recklessly. If they dare to show themselves, they must have some form of support. The terrain of this valley is advantageous for them. Xian Xian added, observe their positioning. It implies a combined attack formation, not typical players. Indeed, Ning Jia taunted them with a series of mocking text bubbles. Oh, reinforcements have arrived? A new face among the girls. Perfect, we'll send you all back to the respawn point and gladly accept your equipment. The voluptuous Yao Ren Hongya followed suit with a flirtatious expression. Hey there, sweetie, hand over your valuables, and I can make your demise a tad more painless. Her tone was frivolous, brimming with a distinctly Japanese flair. You wish. Yang Yingxue, with her fiery temper, could no longer contain herself and commanded her Lehua Nuxia to execute a charging skill, the blade crackling with lightning, reminiscent of her real-world thunder palm in a simplified form. Engage. Ning Jia coldly chuckled, his figure flickering as he melded into the shadows, evidently utilizing the rogue's stealth skill. The battle erupted instantaneously. The shield warrior Gangtai Billy stepped forward, his massive tower shield radiating a heavy light, effectively blocking Yang Yingshue's thunderous charge. Simultaneously, the sorcerer Zhou Yuan waved his staff, causing countless black tendrils to erupt from the ground, ensnaring Qin Un and his companions. The archer Ing Chue Shue's arrows struck like venomous serpents, skillfully targeting Ali and Xine Xian at the back of the formation. Meanwhile, Yao Ren Hongya, akin to a specter, maneuvered her dual blades in a sinister arc, bypassing the shield warrior to target Xine Xian's character, Qingfeng. Their coordination was impeccable, and their assault was fierce. This was no ordinary player team. Ali Purify, Qin shouted, simultaneously controlling Ichuan Jinren. He refrained from employing any flashy skills, simply taking a step forward and delivering a powerful punch against the massive tower shield. Upon hearing his command, Ali immediately cast the purification skill of the Fox Clan mage, enveloping everyone in a gentle white light, causing the encroaching black tendrils to dissolve as if encountering their nemesis. Qinen's punch, seemingly unremarkable, concealed a simplified projection of his martial will from the real world. With a resonant thud, the game's effects erupted. The seemingly indestructible tower shield, along with the shield warrior Gangtai Billy, staggered backward from the impact, fine cracks appearing on the shield. The health bar of the game character visibly diminished. What? Gangtai Billy was clearly unprepared for such overwhelming force from the opponent. Just then, shadows fluctuated behind Qin, and Ning Jia emerged like a venomous snake, his poison daggers aimed directly at Qin's back. Watch out, Yang Yingxue exclaimed. However, Qin appeared to have eyes in the back of his head. His character executed an uncanny sidestep, narrowly evading the backstab, and retaliated with an elbow strike that precisely impacted Ning Jiya's ribs. Ugh! Ning Jiya cried out in pain, sent flying, his stealth state abruptly disrupted. Meanwhile, Xine Xian, controlling Qingfeng, faced the fierce dual slashes from Yao Ren Hongya with composure, unsheathing her long sword. Qing Lian Jiange began to unfold. The sword light flashed, akin to a blooming blue lotus, striking precisely at the weak points of the dual blades. The sound of clashing metal resonated. Yao Ren Hongya felt her wrist tremble violently, game feedback. Her assault instantly thwarted, causing her character to involuntarily retreat 2 steps, her expression one of astonishment. This swordsmanship was exquisite, far beyond what a mere player could wield. In one exchange, the attack from the Japanese 5-man team was not only completely neutralized, but they also suffered a minor setback. Baka, the intelligence was incorrect. They are stronger than we anticipated, especially that one using fists and the one with the sword. Ning Jia bellowed in frustration over the team channel. Execute Plan B. Lure them to that location, Zhou Yuan sinisterly instructed. The 5 individuals ceased their relentless pursuit, feigning a move before retreating in an orderly fashion deep into the valley, their speed remarkable. Attempting to flee? Not so easily. Yang Yingxue, fueled by the thrill of battle, was poised to chase after them. Do not pursue. It may be a ruse. Qin intervened once more, sensing the energy fluctuations emanating from the depths of the valley becoming increasingly bizarre and unstable. Xine Xuan also nodded gravely. Their retreat followed a strategic pattern, as if they were luring us in. Moreover, the energy from within unsettles me. Just as Qin hesitated on whether to take the risk and delve deeper, the voice of Sun Xiaoxiao suddenly pierced through the reality. Qin, Sister Xine Xuan, something is amiss. The gaming pod has detected abnormal fluctuations in your brainwaves. The data stream from the depths of the valley has formed a powerful energy vortex. It is actively pulling at your consciousness connections. Log off immediately. Upon hearing this, both Qin and Xine Xuan's expressions shifted simultaneously. This was not merely a simple gaming trap. It was a conspiracy targeting their very consciousness. Everyone, log off immediately. Qin commanded decisively in the team channel. However, it was already too late. An invisible, potent force surged from the depths of the valley, akin to an unseen hand firmly grasping their consciousness. Their gaming characters instantly lost control, being forcibly dragged towards the darkest recesses of the valley. The visuals on the screen began to warp and flicker, while jarring static and eerie whispers filled the air. The trap of the Wugwa had finally revealed its menacing fangs. This was not merely a battle within a game. It was a hunt for their very souls. Chapter 50. The Battle of the Sea of Consciousness. Consciousness felt as though it had been thrust into a tumultuous washing machine, spinning wildly amidst surreal colors and distorted sounds overwhelming the senses. Qin sensed his spirit being violently torn from his body, a malevolent force emanating from the depths of the game, imbued with a potent essence of corruption and spiritual pollution. Steady your mind. Embrace the unity of existence. The cool voice of Xian resonated like a crystalline spring, piercing through the chaos and reaching Qin's ears. Clearly, she too was subjected to the same onslaught, yet through her solid foundation of Tao heart, she managed to maintain a semblance of clarity. Qin immediately gathered his scattered thoughts. His foundational consciousness surged into action, the yin-yang ascension technique instinctively forming a protective barrier around him. A warm yet resilient power rose from his dantian, safeguarding the core of his sea of consciousness against the external forces of tearing and pollution. He glanced to the side, observing Yang Yingxue and Ali, whose consciousness orbs were also in violent turmoil. Yang Yingxue's fierce blood aura instinctively resisted, appearing chaotic and tempestuous. Ali's celestial fox essence radiated a gentle light, striving to soothe and purify, yet with limited effect. Ultimately, they were still in the qi refining stage, their spiritual fortitude far inferior to that of the foundation establishment stage. They must not be drawn in. With a determined clench of his teeth, Qin divided a portion of his consciousness, transforming it into two formless hands that forcefully grasped Yang Yingxue and Ali's consciousness orbs, pulling them toward himself. Simultaneously, he sensed another steady and formidable consciousness approaching, Xian. Her awareness resembled a sword unsheathed, resolute in its intent to sever all, aiding Qin in stabilizing Yang Yingxue and Ali's consciousness. The four consciousnesses temporarily intertwined, collectively resisting the insidious pull. It felt as though an eternity passed, yet also merely a fleeting moment. The intense sensation of tearing abruptly ceased, yet the surrounding scenery did not revert to normalcy. They found themselves ensnared within a bizarre realm, a fusion of data and malevolent energy. Beneath them flowed a river of black, teeming with streams of binary code, while above loomed a dark crimson sky, twisting and flickering with garbled characters. Fragments of shattered game models, distorted monstrous figures, and countless translucent specters of tormented players floated around them. This place resembled a refuse dump for the game Jiuzhou Piao Miao Lu, or rather, a consciousness prison tainted by malevolence. Here lies the game's underlying data space, corrupted by sinister energies. Xian's voice carried a grave tone. They intend to trap our consciousness here, gradually eroding and assimilating it, or to extract it directly. Ha! Welcome to the data inferno. A boisterous voice erupted. Before them, 5 figures coalesced from the chaos of garbled text and malevolent energy. It was none other than the group known as the Shadow Fawn. However, at this moment, they were no longer mere game avatars, but partial projections of their true souls. They were ensnared in black chains of malevolence, their eyes wild and filled with resentment. The cultivators of Zhonghua possess a certain prowess, managing to resist the pull of the divine worm. The soul projection of the female warrior, Yao Ren Hongya, licked her lips, her gaze greedily fixated on Qin and Xian. However, here, our sacred powers can be maximally unleashed. Your souls shall serve as the finest offerings. Before her words could fade, the 5 soul projections lunged forward simultaneously. Their speed surpassed that in the game by several folds. They unleashed attacks utilizing their soul power and malevolent energies. Black energy arrows, twisted incantations, ghostly blades of light, crushing shield strikes, and unforeseen backstabs surged from all directions. These assaults not only targeted their consciousness, but bore an intense essence of spiritual corruption. Be cautious. Their attacks can taint the soul. Xian cried out sharply, her soul projection materializing, wielding a long sword infused with azure light. The sword intent soaring skyward. Azure Dragon Sword Technique, shattering the void. With a single stroke, the azure sword light, akin to a dragon's tail, rent the space, shredding the incoming energy arrows and incantations into oblivion. The sword intent was pure and grand, exhibiting a clear restraint against the malevolent energies. Qin, too, dared not slacken in his efforts. He concentrated his consciousness, emulating the combat style of the real world. Lacking a weapon, his fists became his finest armament. Break. With a simple yet forceful punch, the power of his consciousness was highly condensed, forming an invisible force field that repelled the soul projections of the dual-wielding woman and the shield warrior approaching from the side. His punch carried a hint of the vitality characteristic of the earth vein spirit seed, destabilizing their souls momentarily. Yang Yingxue and Ali also regained their composure, striving to resist. Yang Yingxue simulated the furious might of her bloodline, delivering punches and kicks as bolts of lightning flashed. Though her techniques were crude, her power was ferocious. Ali unleashed her celestial fox illusions, disrupting the enemy's perceptions while emitting a faint purifying light to dispel the malevolent energies. However, in this realm dominated by sinister forces, the adversaries seemed to possess boundless strength, their attacks laden with potent corruption. The stability of Yang Yingxue and Ali's consciousness began to falter, their lights flickering, evidently struggling to sustain themselves. This cannot continue. If we linger here, we shall inevitably be drained. We must locate the nexus or exit of this space. As Qin fended off the unpredictable strikes of the Shadow Fang, he communicated with Xian Xian. Xian Xian repelled an onslaught of curses with a swift strike, her gaze scanning the surroundings with acute focus. The nexus should be in that direction. She pointed toward the heart of this space, where the malevolent energy was densest, as if a vortex was slowly swirling. I will lead you through. Qin bellowed, unleashing the full extent of his mid-foundation establishment consciousness. The yin-yang ascension technique operated at its zenith. The chaotic consciousness infused with life force surged outward like a tidal wave, forcefully dispersing the incoming malevolent attacks. Onward. He grasped Yang Yingxue with one hand, and Ali with the other, with Xian Xian closely following. Together, the four transformed into a streak of light, hurtling toward the vortex of malevolence. Block them. The Shadow Fang shouted in exasperation. The 5 soul projections pursued frantically, unleashing a torrent of sinister energy attacks like rain. Qin allocated the majority of his consciousness to defense, enduring the onslaught while maintaining his speed. Xian Xian's sword light danced, continuously cleaving through the obstacles ahead. Just as they were on the verge of reaching the vortex of malevolence, suddenly, a gigantic eye, wholly composed of malevolence and garbled text, snapped open at the vortex's center. Cold, chaotic, and brimming with boundless malice. A terrifying pressure, far exceeding anything previously experienced, descended upon them, as though they were under the scrutiny of a higher dimensional being. Insects, dare to trespass upon the domain of the divine. A grand and distorted voice reverberated deep within the souls of the four. The so-called ancient god of Wugwa had indeed cast a fragment of its will through this data space. Chapter 51. The dragon's roar breaks the barrier under the gaze of the immense evil eye. Qin and his 3 companions felt as though their very souls were on the verge of freezing, tearing apart. Their movements became excruciatingly sluggish, and the flow of their consciousness was impeded, as if their thoughts were about to come to a standstill. Is this the might of an ancient deity? Even a mere fragment of thought, transcending countless spatial barriers, is so terrifying. It's over. This has gone awry. Yang Yingxue's aura flickered violently, almost disintegrating. Ali curled into herself, the brilliance of the celestial fox essence dimming significantly. Even Xian Xian's sharp sword intent wavered under this oppressive force. She gritted her teeth, her Qingfeng sword humming incessantly, yet she struggled to unleash its power. Only Qin, after the initial shock, felt the yin-yang ascension technique stimulated by the external pressure, propelling itself into motion with unprecedented speed. The faint vitality within his dantian, simulating the essence of the earth's veins, resonated once more with Yang Yingxue's dominant bloodline and Ali's celestial fox origin. An indomitable will erupted from the depths of his soul. What nonsense, ancient deity! Merely a wisp of sinister thought hiding behind a screen. Does it even deserve the title of God? With a furious roar, he ceased to hold back. Channeling all his consciousness along with the foundational connections accumulated through dual cultivation with the 2 women, and guiding Xi and Xian's resilient sword intent, all infused into that strand of simulated vitality. Break for me. A chaotic beam of light emerged, no longer a pale green but a unique hue that encompassed the purple of thunder, the pink of the celestial fox, the blue of sword intent, and the verdant vitality. Akin to the first light that split the heavens and the earth, it erupted from the projection of Qin An's soul, piercing directly towards the colossal evil eye. This beam contained Qin An's foundational essence, the primordial force of yin and yang, and the supreme vitality rhythm of the earth's veins. It seemed to touch upon some fundamental rules of existence. Roar. The evil eye appeared to sense the threat, emitting a silent roar imbued with anger and a hint of fear. A torrent of sinister energy surged forth like a tsunami, attempting to obliterate this chaotic light. However, wherever the chaotic light passed, the sinister energy crumbled and dissipated as if it had encountered its nemesis. It surged forward, crashing violently into the immense evil eye. Pop! The sound reminiscent of a balloon bursting echoed. The gigantic evil eye suddenly contracted, then twisted violently, emitting a series of inhuman, pained, and chaotic shrieks, culminating in a resounding explosion, shattering into countless fragments of garbled code and black mist. The overwhelming pressure vanished in an instant. The entire data purgatory began to tremble violently, collapsing. The code river beneath them boiled, and the sky of garbled characters above fractured. The nodes broke. The exit is there. Xi and Xian, battling the weakness of her spirit, pointed to a flickering, unstable crack of white light where the evil eye once was. Go. Qin and dared not linger, using the last remnants of his consciousness to lift the nearly unconscious Yang Yingxue and Ali, rushing towards that crack alongside Xi and Xian. Behind them, the soul projections of the 5 members of Shadow's Fong emitted desperate and unwilling roars, vanishing into the chaotic data stream as the space collapsed around them. They were bound to this realm as vessels of sinister energy and extensions of consciousness. In the real world, within the Ling Tai courtyard, Qin, Yang Yingxue, Ali, and Xi and Xian nearly simultaneously emerged from the gaming pod, their faces pale, drenched in sweat, as if utterly drained. Are you all right? Sun Xiaoxiao, who had been vigilantly waiting nearby, hurried forward, holding several talismans radiating a refreshing aura, pressing them to the foreheads of her companions. I'm fine. Qin gasped for breath, feeling as though his head had been pierced with needles, exhausted from the drain on his consciousness. He glanced beside him. Yang Yingxue and Ali had already succumbed to unconsciousness, while Xi and Xian, though still awake, sat cross-legged on the ground, focusing intently on her recovery, her complexion exceedingly pale. That was perilous. Just now, your brainwaves were almost completely assimilated. The core energy level of that data vortex undoubtedly reached the late stage of foundation establishment, infused with that ancient deity's thought. Sun Xiaoxiao said, her heart still racing. Qin recalled the final chaotic light strike and the scene of the evil eye shattering, feeling a deep sense of dread within him. Had it not been for the timely eruption of the yin-yang ascension technique and the vitality force of the earth's veins, they might have truly met their end this time. The methods of the Yamato nation's Yaki were indeed insidious, capable of infiltrating the virtual world with sinister energy and invoking so-called ancient deities' thoughts. Although they had narrowly escaped, they had also revealed parts of their strength and secret trump cards. More importantly, they had forged an unbreakable enmity with the Yamato nation and the ancient deity behind it. It seems I must hasten my cultivation. Qin gazed at the unconscious Yang Yingxue and Ali, then at the meditating Xi and Xian, his expression resolute. He must grow stronger to protect those around him and face the more formidable challenges that lay ahead. The Earth's vein essence must be found and utilized effectively without delay. In the following days, the atmosphere in Ling Tai courtyard grew somewhat somber. Yang Yingxue and Ali remained unconscious for a full day and night before awakening, their spirits heavily injured and in need of gradual recuperation. Although Xi and Xian's injuries were lighter, she also entered closed-door meditation for 2 full days. Apart from caring for the 2 women, Qin spent most of his time beside the small gathering formation, attempting to communicate more deeply with the Earth's vein essence beneath. After the battle in the data space, his yearning for that strand of vitality intensified. Not only was it a force to counter sinister energy, but it also seemed to relate to deeper mysteries of the yin-yang ascension technique. Seated at the formation's core, he no longer forcefully probed into the ground as he had before, but instead adopted a gentle approach akin to a spring breeze, slowly permeating downwards, attempting to sense and understand the breathing and emotions of the slumbering essence. This was a gradual endeavor, not to be rushed. He recalled the feeling of merging their foundational powers during dual cultivation with Yang Ingxue and Ali, the seamless blending that felt as if life itself was intertwining. Suddenly, inspiration struck him. If forceful guidance proved ineffective, could he perhaps simulate that sense of merging to resonate with the Earth's vein essence? He adjusted his foundational true essence to a frequency that was peaceful, encompassing, and brimming with vitality, devoid of any coercive intent, merely touching the slumbering vitality beneath as a friend would. 1 day, 2 days. Just as Qin was on the verge of despair, believing that this method was futile, on the dusk of the 3rd day, when the golden rays of the setting sun bathed the small courtyard, adorning the bamboo grove with a gilded edge, a faint hum emerged, resonating as if from the depths of his very soul. It did not emanate from his ears, but echoed directly within his consciousness. Following this, he sensed the dormant, immense life energy beneath the ground stir ever so slightly, akin to a slumbering giant turning in its sleep. Though the movement was exceedingly subtle, the ensuing transformation was extraordinary. The small gathering spirit formation erupted in brilliance, no longer merely dim green points of light, but instead gushing forth pure and rich life energy in torrents, intensifying several-fold. The air within the entire courtyard felt as though it had been cleansed, imbued with an invigorating essence of life. The ordinary flowers and grasses in the yard visibly transformed, becoming lush and vibrant, even faintly shimmering with spiritual light. The clusters of bamboo emitted gentle crackling sounds as they surged upwards. Had he succeeded? Qin's eyes flew open, a mix of shock and joy flooding his senses. He had indeed succeeded. Through the harmonious essence of simulating the yin-yang ascension technique, he had genuinely elicited the initial resonance of the Earth's spiritual seed. Although mastery was still far out of reach, it signified that he had discovered a correct path to communicate with the spiritual seed. This surge of exuberant life energy flooded into his body, swiftly nourishing his damaged soul and meridians, the aftereffects of the previous battle in the data space rapidly recovering at an astonishing pace. Even the bottleneck in his cultivation showed subtle signs of loosening. Simultaneously, within the house, Yang Ingxue, Ali, and Exine Xian, who were recuperating, sensed this sudden, overwhelming yet gentle vitality. Their fatigued souls, akin to parched earth welcoming a long-awaited rain, greedily absorbed this pure energy, and their healing accelerated dramatically. Yang Ingxue's pale complexion rapidly blossomed with color. Ali groggily opened her eyes, her gaze regaining clarity. Even Exine Xian, who was in seclusion, was astonished to open her beautiful eyes, feeling the active sword intent within her body and the comfort of her soul. Was the Earth's spiritual seed activated? Exine Xian stepped out of the room, gazing at the swirling light of the small gathering spirit formation in the courtyard, and at Qin, whose aura had evidently strengthened at the formation's core, her face exhibiting disbelief. Sun Xiaoxiao was even more exhilarated, scanning the surroundings with her equipment, energy readings soaring, life vitality indicators crossing critical thresholds. My goodness, Qin, what have you done? Qin rose to his feet, feeling the surging power within him and a deeper connection to the earth beneath his feet, a satisfied smile gracing his face. Oh, nothing much, just exchanged a friendly greeting with my neighbor underground. He realized that from this moment forth, the Ling Tai Xiao Yuan would truly commence revealing its potential as a treasured land. Moreover, his confidence in confronting the Hua Kingdom's Yao Ji and that so-called ancient deity had grown substantially. Chapter 52. The wind rises at Qingping. The initial resonance of the earth vein spirit seed brought about transformative changes in the Ling Tai Xiao Yuan. Not only did the spiritual wounds and injuries of Qin and his 3 companions heal rapidly, but the entire courtyard seemed to spring to life. The lush vegetation thrived, brimming with spiritual energy, making cultivation here exponentially more effective. Sun Xiaoxiao even attempted to transplant several strains of spirit herbs that required special environments to thrive, and astonishingly, they all survived. The vitality energy gathered from the small gathering spirit formation, while still not directly applicable for offensive purposes, proved exceptionally beneficial for healing, nourishing the body and soul, and even assisting in cultivation. Qin and named it the Vitality Spiritual Spring. After experiencing the benefits of the Vitality Spiritual Spring, Xi and Xian displayed a notably heightened regard and curiosity towards Qin. She began to spend increasing amounts of time in the small courtyard under the pretext of jointly researching methods to counteract the malevolent energies. But in truth, she sought to cultivate here and exchange insights on swordsmanship and cultivation with Qin. She discovered that although Qin An's cultivation methods were rather unconventional, his understanding of the essence of power was often quite profound. Following their recovery, Yang Yingxue and Ali made significant advancements in their cultivation. Yang Yingxue solidified her position at the 8th level of qi refinement, with her Bashui Lei becoming increasingly refined. Ali broke through to the 6th level of qi refinement, her second foxtail's ethereal form nearly materializing, greatly enhancing her mastery over illusions and purification. About half a month passed in this tranquil and fulfilling manner. One day, Zhao Gang visited again, his expression graver than before, tinged with a hint of anger. "Mr. Qin, Comrade Xi and Xian, trouble has arisen," he announced solemnly upon entering. "Our informant embedded in the Wokaku has relayed urgent intelligence. The Yada organization has been thoroughly incensed due to consecutive failures, particularly the collapse of the Data Purgatory Project and the loss of 5 elite members. They are now led by their high priest, Amaterasu Yurin, who is allied with several prominent ninja factions and Shinto forces in Wakaku, preparing to launch a large-scale infiltration and sabotage operation named the Hayaki Yagyo. Their targets are the numerous spiritual energy nodes and key cities along our southeastern coast. Xiangshan has been designated as a primary target due to the presence of the Earth Vein Spirit Seed and your repeated interventions." Hayaki Yagyo? Qin furrowed his brow, instantly recognizing the ominous implications of the name. Indeed, Zhao Gang produced a classified document. According to the intelligence, they will dispatch a substantial number of low to mid-tier yokai, shikigami, and ninjas, infiltrating our territory through ordinary smuggling routes or utilizing temporary spatial passages opened by fragments of malevolent energy. Although these beings may not possess significant individual strength, their overwhelming numbers excel in concealment and chaos, aiming to distract our forces while seeking opportunities to disrupt the Earth Vein nodes or exact retribution upon you. Moreover, Zhao Gang's tone grew even more somber. The Yada has also hired several renowned supernatural mercenary organizations, which may even include vampires and werewolves. Vampires? Werewolves? They are involving Western supernatural beings as well. Qin En and Xi and Xian exchanged grave glances, both recognizing the escalating severity of the situation. "What directives have come from the headquarters?" Xi and Xian inquired. "The headquarters has ordered all southeastern branches to enter a state of first-level combat readiness and has dispatched elite teams from Qinglong and Baihu to provide support. Director Zhou has commanded our Xiangshan branch to spare no effort in ensuring the safety of the Earth Vein Spirit Seed and your well-being." Zhao Gang turned to Qin and "Mr. Qin, we will likely require your full cooperation this time. This is no longer merely a personal vendetta. It is a battle concerning national security." Taking a deep breath, Qin surveyed the vibrant scene within the courtyard and the trusted companions by his side. The Wokaku's relentless pursuit of his downfall had intensified. Since evasion was no longer an option, it was time to fight. He nodded, his gaze sharp as a blade. "Rest assured, if they dare to come, I shall not hesitate to bury them. Just as well. My fists and Yingshue's palms have long awaited action. The wind rises from the last flicker of Qingping. A transcendent storm, poised to engulf Xiangshan and the entire southeastern coast, is on the horizon. The Ling Tai Xiao Yuan is destined to be at the very epicenter of this tempest." Chapter 53, Chaos, all personnel missing. This portends grave misfortune. Qin En's expression darkened. The formal action team of the Security Bureau is composed of elite members, at least grandmasters and masters, equipped with specialized gear, yet they have suffered total annihilation? Following an analysis of the residual energy on the wreckage by the technical department, Zhao Gang pointed to the twisted metal components. Confirming that the assailants employed the unique dark energy of the Yamato country's Yaki organization, along with an unknown energy imbued with a strong aura of darkness and bloodshed, which bears a striking resemblance to the energy characteristics of vampires recorded in our archives. Vampires. They truly have emerged. Moreover, Zhao Gang took a deep breath and continued to drop a bombshell. Our highest level informant embedded in Yamato has risked their life to relay top secret intelligence. The high priest of the Yaqi organization, Tian Zhao Yuran, has suffered a loss of prestige due to the failure of the Data Purgatory plan and the loss of 5 elite members. In a bid to salvage the situation and exact revenge, he has allied with major ninja factions such as IGA and Koga, as well as Shinto forces like Izumo and Yasukuni, to initiate a large-scale infiltration and sabotage plan named the Night Parade of 100 Demons. They intend to smuggle, disguise, and even utilize fragments of dark energy to temporarily open small, unstable spatial passages to dispatch a multitude of low to mid-tier demons, shikigami, vengeful spirits, and ninjas to our southeastern coast, particularly targeting Xiangshan City. These entities may individually possess strengths ranging from master to grandmaster level, but their numbers are expected to be vast, excelling in stealth, assassination, and sowing panic and chaos. Their objectives are threefold. First, to engage and deplete our security bureau and civilian extraordinary forces. Second, to locate and destroy the spiritual nodes along the southeastern coast, thereby weakening our nation's geomantic energy. And third, and most critically, Zhao Gang's gaze locked onto Qin. They are determined to seize the spiritual essence of Xiangshan City. Furthermore, they have identified your Lingtai courtyard as a primary target for elimination. To achieve their aims, Yaqi is spared no expense, employing notorious international supernatural mercenary organizations such as the Kiss of Dark Moon, predominantly vampires, Bloodclaw Tribe, predominantly werewolves, and a mysterious sorceress organization known as the Eye of Arcane. The room fell into a profound silence. The pressure loomed like a tangible weight. The Yamato country has mobilized en masse and has allied with Western vampires, werewolves, and sorcerers. This is no mere skirmish. It is a premeditated national-level invasion involving multiple supernatural forces. Xian Xian slammed her hand on the table, causing cracks to spiderweb across the solid wood surface. Her face was frosted with fury, and the intent of her sword seemed poised to pierce the air. Such audacity. Do they truly believe that our great Xia is without defenders? Yang Yingxue was equally enraged, her brows arched in defiance. Excellent. I was just lamenting the lack of opportunity to stretch my muscles. Regardless of what demons and monsters they send, I shall crush them all. Although Ollie remained silent, she clutched the hem of Qin and S garment tightly, her eyes filled with concern and determination. Sun Xiao, though frightened to the point of paling, quickly steadied herself and hurriedly operated her tablet. I will immediately contact the central database to retrieve all known intelligence regarding vampires, werewolves, and the Eye of Arcane. Qin remained silent, his fingers gently tapping the table. His heart was far from tranquil. The ferocity of the enemy's advance and the complexity of their forces exceeded his imagination. This was no longer merely a personal vendetta. It had escalated to a national and ethnic confrontation. He gazed out at the vibrant courtyard, a sanctuary for him, Yingxue and Ollie, the foundation of his cultivation, and he would not allow anyone to destroy it. He then looked at his enraged companions, the fierce lowly young Yingxue, the adorably naive celestial fox Ollie, the tech-savvy Sun Xiao, and the icy sword cultivator Xian Xian. Unbeknownst to him, he was no longer alone in this fight. Captain Zhao, Qin spoke slowly, his voice calm, yet imbued with undeniable authority. What specific deployments have been made by the Central Bureau and Director Zhou? Zhao Gang promptly replied. The Central Bureau has issued orders for all southeastern branches to enter a state of heightened alert. All field personnel have had their leave canceled and have been summoned to stand by. Simultaneously, the elite teams Qinglong and Baihu have mobilized over 1/3 of their forces, led personally by 2 elders at the Jedon stage, who will be stationed in the south. Director Zhou has ordered our Xiangshan branch to spare no effort in cooperating with you, Mr. Qin, to ensure the safety of the spiritual essence in Xiangshan City. We have already begun to establish an energy monitoring network throughout the city and have mobilized all available civilian martial arts experts and rogue cultivators. The elders at the Jedon stage are personally leading the charge. The Central Bureau is truly investing heavily this time. Qin nodded, his gaze sweeping over everyone before finally resting on the box containing the remains of his fallen comrades brought by Zhao Gang, his expression turning cold and sharp. If they wish to play, we shall indulge them to the very end. Inform Director Zhou that the Lingtai courtyard shall be their first graveyard. It is just as well. The flora and fauna in my courtyard could use some special fertilizer. The winds rise from the edges of the green, and waves form amidst the slightest ripples. A monumental storm, sweeping across the southeast and affecting the supernatural realms of both east and west, is now inevitable. And the Lingtai courtyard, this small realm, is destined to become the most resilient reef and the sharpest blade in the eye of the storm. Chapter 54. Undercurrents and pre-war preparations. The Baigui Yixing plan looms like a vast shadow over Xiangshan City and the entire southeastern coast. An oppressive atmosphere hangs in the air, reminiscent of a storm brewing in the mountains. The Lingtai Xiaoyuan has effectively become one of the frontline command posts. The director of the Xiangshan branch of the Security Bureau, Zhou Weiguo, personally visited to engage in a lengthy discussion with Qin Un and Xine Xian, finalizing a preliminary joint defense strategy. Surrounding the courtyard, an operational team led by Zhao Gang has been covertly deployed around the clock, setting up various energy detection and defense devices. The technical support provided by Sun Xiaoxiao has played a pivotal role. She enhanced the sensitivity and anti-interference capabilities of the detectors, enabling the earlier detection of concealed malevolent energy fluctuations and spatial anomalies. Qin was equally industrious, utilizing the preliminary resonance of the Earth's spiritual essence. Combined with the formation knowledge recorded in his grandfather's ancient texts, he began to establish a more powerful composite formation around the Lingtai Xiaoyuan. Centering on a minor gathering formation, he expanded outward, inscribing the Panshir formation for physical defense and foundation reinforcement. He arranged the Qingxin Jingyu formation to guard against spiritual pollution and illusionary attacks. Most critically, he attempted to integrate a trace of the Earth's spiritual essence into the formation's foundation, thus creating a rudimentary life purification field. Although its range only encompassed the courtyard and several dozen meters around it, it exhibited a formidable repulsion and purifying effect against malevolent energy. Any entity bearing a sinister aura that ventured into this area would feel as though they had stepped into boiling oil, their strength significantly diminished. The formation layout was tremendously taxing. Even with Qin An's foundational cultivation level, he found himself utterly exhausted. Nevertheless, the results were evident. As the entire Lingtai Xiaoyuan seemed enveloped in an invisible yet resilient domain, greatly enhancing their sense of security. Yang Yingxue and Ali entered a fervent training state. No longer content with merely striking ironwood stakes in the courtyard, Yang Yingxue enlisted Xine Xian as her sparring partner. The two distinctly styled female cultivators engaged in fierce combat daily in a specially cleared training area, sending sand and stone flying as sword energies clashed with thunderous brilliance. Xine Xian's Qinglong sword technique was unmatched in its sharpness, placing immense pressure on Yang Yingxue and refining her mastery over her own powers. Meanwhile, Ali focused on enhancing her illusion and purification abilities. Her illusions evolved from mere fabrications to influences capable of disrupting the enemy's mental state and creating psychological vulnerabilities. Her purifying light, nourished by the life spring, became even more potent, capable of temporarily dispelling dense malevolence. In addition to providing technical support, Sun Xiaoxiao began to leverage the resources of the Security Bureau to craft some defensive and auxiliary equipment for herself. Her massive backpack now contained an assortment of curious gadgets, including a flash talisman, a technological version that could instantly emit blinding light and noise, a spatial disruptor capable of briefly warping the surrounding space, and a portable energy absorption device still in the experimental phase, rumored to extract a small amount of malevolent energy and convert it into personal energy. As Qin Un and his companions prepared for battle with fervor, the vanguard of Baigui Yixing had already infiltrated Xiangshan City like tainted water seeping into sand. In the dead of night, the northern dock area of the city was shrouded in a damp sea breeze, carrying the distant hum of ocean freighters' horns, alongside a barely perceptible chill. A figure clad in tattered sailor garb, with a pallid and swollen visage, emerged awkwardly from the hull of a derelict fishing vessel. It radiated a potent aura of death and resentment, for it was a water ghost transformed by malevolent energy. Tilting its head as if receiving some directive, it staggered toward the brightly lit urban district. Simultaneously, at the exit of a dark sewer, pairs of eyes gleaming with green light flickered to life, accompanied by low, raspy breaths and the sound of claws scraping against the cement floor. 3 robust, filthy werewolves emerged, drooling from their mouths. They sniffed the air, their eyes reflecting a cruel hunger, and with a low growl, they melted into the shadows of the city. In the back alley of a late-night bar, a man dressed in a sharp suit, strikingly handsome, yet excessively pale, elegantly wiped a trace of crimson from the corner of his mouth with a handkerchief. Beneath him lay a drunken vagrant, lifeless, with 2 small puncture wounds on his neck. The man, a vampire, licked his lips in satisfaction, a flash of bloodlust igniting in his eyes, as he vanished into thin air like a specter. These occurrences are merely the tip of the iceberg. A greater number of demons, vengeful spirits, and ninjas have infiltrated the city's corners through various means. They lie in wait, anticipating the command for a full-scale assault, or, perhaps, following the instinct to hunt. At the Xiangshan Security Bureau Branch S Command Center, a massive electronic screen displayed red dots representing energy anomalies and supernatural incidents, steadily increasing in number. Alarms echoed throughout the facility. Report: C-Class Vengeful Spirit Energy Reactions detected in the northern dock area. Report: Suspected werewolf activity traced in the western sewer network. Report: An unknown fainting incident occurred on the southern bar street. Victims exhibit serious life energy depletion and puncture wounds on their necks. Zhou Weiguo stood before the screen, his expression grave. He picked up the communicator and commanded in a low voice: "All monitoring points, raise your vigilance. Action teams, patrol in groups as per the plan. Lethal force is authorized upon target discovery. Prioritize the safety of civilians. Repeat, prioritize the safety of civilians." The war has shifted from covert skirmishes to sporadic confrontations on the front lines. Beneath the night sky of the city, undercurrents surge, and the atmosphere is thick with impending danger. All these signs herald the arrival of a greater storm. Chapter 55: The Phantom of the Dock Area. The first clear alarm emanated from the northern dock area. Tasked with patrolling this sector was a small team from the Security Bureau's Action Unit, led by Captain Sun Hao, a martial arts practitioner in the early stages of his journey, accompanied by 3 grandmasters. They received a call from the warehouse manager, who reported hearing strange cries and the sounds of heavy dragging from the abandoned warehouse No. 7 late at night. 2 security guards sent inside had not returned. Upon their arrival, the area surrounding warehouse number 7 was permeated with a pungent, fishy odor mingled with an almost imperceptible stench of decay. The warehouse door stood ajar, revealing a pitch-black interior that loomed like a gaping maw ready to consume the unwary. Energy readings at level C, confirming the presence of a vengeful spirit. Energy response is intensifying. One team member reported nervously, clutching the detector. Prepare the high-intensity flashlights and exorcism rounds. Xiao Li, Xiao Wang, secure the entrance and establish a defensive line. Xiao Zhang, follow me inside. Sun Hao, seasoned and decisive, swiftly issued commands. He drew his specially crafted handgun inscribed with exorcism runes and, with the other hand gripping a high-powered flashlight, pushed open the warehouse door. The beam of light sliced through the darkness, illuminating the interior cluttered with discarded fishing nets, wooden crates, and rusted machinery. Dust hung in the air, thickening the foul odor. Wails echoed eerily from the depths of the warehouse, shifting back and forth, sending chills down their spines. There, Sun Hao's gaze sharpened, and the flashlight beam locked onto a figure lurking behind the engine of an abandoned fishing boat. It was the water ghost from the shipwreck. The water ghost appeared to be agitated by the bright light, emitting a piercing scream and lunging forward with astonishing speed, conjuring a chilling gust of wind. Open fire. Sun Hao and Xiao Zhang simultaneously squeezed the triggers. The specially crafted exorcism rounds, aglow with a faint white light, hurtled towards the water ghost. However, the ghost contorted its form in an uncanny manner, evading most of the bullets at impossible angles, as if devoid of bones. Only 2 shots grazed its arm, leaving behind charred holes that emitted wisps of black mist, yet failed to halt its advance. Watch out! Sun Hao bellowed, sidestepping the ghost's fetid claws, and retaliated with a palm strike infused with true energy aimed at its neck. With a dull thud, it felt like striking a piece of waterlogged wood. The water ghost merely swayed, its murky eyes fixated on Sun Hao, while another claw, reeking of decay, lunged for his face. Xiao Zhang, pressed by the ghost's agile maneuvers, found it difficult to aim his pistol at such close range. Captain, this creature is impervious to bullets. Physical attacks have limited effect. Xiao Zhang exclaimed anxiously. I know. Use the high-voltage electric baton. Aim for its core. Sun Hao rolled to evade another claw strike and swiftly retrieved the non-lethal electric baton from his belt. This weapon had been modified to generate a voltage far exceeding that of standard models, capable of disrupting energy entities to some extent. At that moment, the eerie cries from the depths of the warehouse escalated into a sharp, frantic chorus, as if countless souls were wailing in unison. In the darkness, 3 or 4 more figures, clad in tattered sailor garb with pale, bloated faces, staggered into view. These were either drawn in by the malevolent energy or summoned by the core water ghost, other souls lost to maritime calamities. This is bad. There's more than one. Sun Hao's heart sank. They could barely contend with a single sea-level vengeful spirit. The appearance of 4 or 5, potentially stronger entities, spelled doom for his team. Requesting backup. Multiple vengeful spirits detected in warehouse number 7. Energy levels from sea to sea. We are surrounded. Sun Hao shouted into his earpiece while thrusting the electric baton towards the nearest water ghost. With a crackle, blue-white arcs of electricity erupted, and the water ghost emitted a pained shriek, its body convulsing violently, slowing its movements but retaining its capacity to fight. The other water ghosts disregarded Sun Hao and Xiao Zhang entirely, howling as they charged toward Xiao Li and Xiao Wang, who stood guard at the entrance. Hold them off. Xiao Li and Xiao Wang, faces pale, gritted their teeth and raised their enchanted staffs and shields, bracing against the warehouse door. In that moment, the warehouse was enveloped in a howling wind, ghostly figures swirling amidst the cacophony of wails, clashing weapons, and the crackling of electricity as the situation grew increasingly dire. Just as Sun Hao's team found themselves in a desperate struggle, a clear, melodious sound rang out, reminiscent of a soul-cleansing sword's chime, slicing through the night sky of the dock area like a phoenix's cry. A streak of azure sword light, akin to a lightning bolt tearing through darkness, shot through a hole in the warehouse roof. The sword light was impeccably precise, effortlessly bypassing the water ghosts lunging toward the entrance. There was no earth-shattering explosion. Instead, the water ghosts emitted chilling screams as if plunged into searing flames, their bodies igniting with pure azure light, rapidly vaporizing into nothingness, leaving not a trace of black mist behind. The might of a single sword was terrifying. Sun Hao and Xiao Zhang stood dumbfounded, nearly forgetting to breathe as they beheld this spectacle. Following that, a tall, ethereal figure descended gracefully from the gaping hole in the roof, landing firmly in the center of the warehouse. It was Shen Sinyu. She still wore her deep blue combat attire, draped with a flowing azure long coat, her garments billowing elegantly. In her hand, she wielded an ancient, sheathed longsword, its hilt adorned with intricate cloud patterns. Her countenance was serene, her gaze as cold as eternal ice, sweeping over the remaining 2 water ghosts, including the initial core ghost. Sensing a grave threat, the core water ghost emitted a whimper of fear, retreating in desperation, striving to meld into the shadows. How dare you, a vile entity, tread upon the soil of Daxiao? Shen Sinyu's voice was frigid, devoid of any emotion. She did not even draw her sword, merely pointed her finger towards the core water ghost. Azure Dragon Sword Chi, exterminate evil. With a swish, a finely condensed azure sword Chi shot forth from her fingertip, moving at a speed that surpassed the limits of visual perception. The core water ghost had no time to react as the sword Chi pierced through its forehead. It froze in place, its face contorted in agony and fear, and in the next instant, its entire form disintegrated like a sand sculpture scattered by the wind, vanishing without a trace. The warehouse was instantly enveloped in a profound silence. Save for the heavy breaths of Sun Hao and Xiao Zhang, and the faint, refreshing aroma that lingered in the air, a remnant of the purifying sword energy. Shun Zhuanyuan. Sun Hao regained his composure and hastily stepped forward to salute, his tone imbued with gratitude and reverence. He was aware that the headquarters had dispatched a formidable expert, but he had not anticipated such an extraordinary level of prowess. That was a Class C entity, comparable to the pinnacle of a Grandmaster's vengeful spirit, effortlessly vanquished with just a mere gesture. Shen Sinyu inclined her head slightly, her gaze sweeping across the warehouse as she coldly commanded, secure the scene and reassure the public. This is merely the beginning. Remain vigilant. Yes. Sun Hao and Xiao Zhang promptly stood at attention in response. Shen Sinyu uttered no further words, her form flickering before vanishing into the night outside the warehouse. As though she had never been there at all, Sun Hao gazed at the empty doorway of the warehouse, wiping the cold sweat from his brow. With a lingering sense of trepidation, he remarked to Xiao Zhang, "Goodness, are all the individuals dispatched by the headquarters such monsters? They are incredibly powerful." Xiao Zhang swallowed hard. "Captain, should we cling tightly to this formidable ally in the future?" "Of course." Sun Hao shot him a glare, Get to work quickly. There is still much to be done. While the crisis in the dock area was temporarily averted, Shen Sinyu's intervention signified an escalation in the conflict. The officials' experts had officially commenced their purging efforts, heralding the likelihood that the main forces from the Yamato nation would soon be unable to restrain themselves. Chapter 56. The Hunter Under the Moonlight. The news of Shen Sinyu's prowess at the Pier District warehouse swiftly reached Ling Tai Xiao Yuan. Wow, Sister Shun is so impressive, Yang Yingxue exclaimed, her hands cradling her face, her eyes sparkling with admiration. That sword energy is far more agile than my palm strikes. Qinan smiled quietly, choosing not to speak. Shen Sinyu's strength was indeed formidable. As a foundational stage sword cultivator, her offensive capabilities were unquestionable. However, he sensed that while her sword energy was sharp and pure, it seemed to lack the essence of creation and inclusivity that his own chaotic true essence, infused with the vitality of the earth's veins, possessed. Each had their own merits. Xi and Xian, on the other hand, remained composed. Sinyu's Qinglong sword technique has received a significant portion of Elder Li's true teachings. Dealing with these miscellaneous foes is naturally effortless for her. Her tone conveyed both recognition of her peer and a scarcely perceptible competitive spirit, as both were sword practitioners inevitably bound to compare themselves. Sun Xiaoxiao busily analyzed the energy data emitted during Shun Sinyu's battle, striving to optimize her detection model. After a brief exchange, the group redirected their focus to the pressing preparations for battle. The incident at the Pier District served as a harbinger, indicating that the vanguard of the 100 Ghosts Night Walk had infiltrated and commenced their activities. That night, the moon shone brightly in a sparse sky above the old residential area in the western district of Xiangshan City, an area awaiting demolition. Most residents had already vacated, leaving behind crumbling walls and empty buildings that loomed like specters in the moonlight. 3 shadowy figures stealthily traversed the ruins. They were the 3 werewolves that had previously infiltrated. Their eyes glimmered with a ravenous and cruel green light, their heavy breaths resonating sharply in the stillness of the night. They were in pursuit of prey, any solitary creature brimming with life energy. Before long, they caught a whiff of fresh vitality. In a half-collapsed 2-story building, faint signs of life seemed to pulsate. The largest werewolf led the charge, letting out a low growl, while the other 2 swiftly scattered, encircling the building from different directions. Their movements were agile and graceful, their claws barely making a sound against the rubble. Yet, unbeknownst to them, they had already been targeted. Across from the small building, atop a taller abandoned water tower, a figure stood silently in the shadows, seemingly melding with the night. It was Xi and Xian. Following Zhou Weiguo's orders, she was tasked with eliminating the extraordinary threats emerging in the western district. The werewolf's potent scent of blood and dark energy shone like a beacon in her keen perception. Observing the 3 werewolves adopting a tactical formation as they neared the small building, Xi and Xian's gaze turned icy. These beasts were, indeed, well-trained, not merely instinct-driven killers. Just as the lead werewolf was about to crash through the window, a faint hum resonated in the air. With a mere gesture, Xi and Xian did not leap down from the water tower, but instead pointed her fingers like a sword, slicing through the void below. A condensed, crescent-shaped azure sword energy manifested out of thin air, tearing through the atmosphere with a sharp whistle, crossing dozens of meters in an instant to strike the lead werewolf. The werewolf reacted swiftly. At the moment the sword energy approached, its fur bristled, and it emitted a warning howl, attempting to roll away to evade the attack. However, the speed of the sword energy was unparalleled. With a sickening thud, blood erupted. A robust, fur-covered wolf arm was severed at the shoulder, soaring through the air. The lead werewolf let out a heart-wrenching wail of agony, its massive form hurled by the residual force of the sword energy, crashing heavily into the ruins below. The remaining 2 werewolves, startled, abandoned their stealth and bared their teeth, threateningly growling towards the source of the sword energy emanating from the water tower. In a flash, Xi and Xian's figure glided down like a ghost from the water tower, landing gracefully amidst the rubble, blocking the path of the 2 werewolves. The Qingfeng's sword had unsheathed, its tip angled towards the ground, glinting with a chilling sheen under the moonlight. This is not a place for western beasts. Xi and Xian's voice was as cold as her blade. The 2 werewolves exchanged glances, a flicker of fear passing through their eyes, soon overtaken by their ferocity. They sensed that this human female posed a significant threat, yet their pride and bloodlust compelled them to advance. With a simultaneous roar, The two werewolves lunged towards Exine Xian like two bolts of black lightning, their speed astonishing, stirring a violent gust of wind. Unfazed, Exine Xian flicked her wrist, and the Qingfeng sword transformed into two streams of azure light, striking left and right. The Qinglong sword technique, twin dragons surfacing. The clash of steel echoed sharply as Exine Xian's sword preempted their assault, precisely striking the werewolf's most formidable claws. Sparks flew. The immense force transmitted through the sword caused Exine Xian to sway slightly, effortlessly dissipating the impact. Meanwhile, the werewolves felt an unparalleled sharpness surge through their claws, causing their blood to churn, abruptly halting their charge. Before they could adjust their tactics, Exine Xian's sword momentum shifted again. With the force of a tempest, the Qingfeng sword danced, unleashing a flurry of fierce sword energy that enveloped the two werewolves entirely. The sword energy interwove like countless invisible blades, slicing through the werewolves' tough fur and muscle. Their anguished howls echoed as dozens of deep, bone-revealing wounds appeared on their bodies, blood gushing profusely. Their once proud defenses crumbled like paper before Exine Xian's sword energy. In mere breaths, the two ferocious werewolves collapsed, gravely injured and barely clinging to life. Exine Xian stood poised, her breath steady, as if she had merely swatted away two flies. She glanced at the one-armed werewolf leader struggling to rise amidst the rubble and the two others gasping for breath, her expression betraying no emotion. She retrieved a specialized communicator. Threat in the Western District neutralized. 3 werewolves targeted. 2 dead, 1 severely injured. Send someone to clean up. Clean, decisive, efficient. This exemplified the prowess of a foundational sword cultivator. In the face of these werewolves, akin to those at the initial and mid-stages of qi refinement, it was a complete rout. Beneath the moonlight, Exine Xian's silhouette resembled a solitary, noble Qinglian, standing tall amidst the bloody ruins. Her sword had already been stained with the colors of impending slaughter, foreshadowing the comprehensive conflict yet to come. Chapter 57. Shadows of the Bar and Joint Operations. Unlike the crude skirmishes in the Dock and West Districts, the threats lurking in the South District's Bar Street are far more insidious and intricate. Vampires, unlike vengeful spirits and werewolves, possess heightened intelligence, adept at masquerading and blending into human society, their methods of hunting more elegant and lethal. The recent spate of inexplicable fainting incidents among bar patrons, accompanied by a draining of life energy, has garnered the utmost attention from the Security Bureau. After thorough investigations and energy tracking, the focus narrowed to an upscale bar named Wiyue Meguei. This establishment, with its complex background and a clientele of mixed origins, presents a chaotic energy field, complicating reconnaissance efforts significantly. Ordinary operatives entering would likely not only fail to locate the target, but also risk alarming it. It seems we must take action. In the courtyard of Lingtai, Qin perused the intelligence provided by Zhao Gang, stroking his chin thoughtfully. "I want to go," exclaimed Yang Yingxue, her hand shooting up in excitement. "I've never seen a real vampire before. I want to see if they're as handsome as in the movies." Ali blinked, seemingly intrigued. However, Exine Xian furrowed her brow slightly. Vampires excel in charm and mental manipulation. Yingxue, your straightforward nature makes you susceptible to their allure. While Ali's illusion and purification abilities can counteract this, she lacks practical combat experience. After some contemplation, Qin declared, "This time, Ali and I will go." Her keen perception can detect hidden vampires, and her purifying light will effectively neutralize their fangs and seductive powers. "I will handle the support and capture." He turned to Exine Xian and Yang Yingxue, instructing them to remain behind and prevent any distractions. Exine Xian nodded in agreement with the plan. Though Yang Yingxue was somewhat reluctant, she understood the importance of the mission. As night descended and the lights began to twinkle, Qin donned a simple casual outfit, concealing most of his aura, appearing as an ordinary handsome youth. Ali wore a white dress gifted by Yang Yingxue, her exquisite beauty and pure aura drawing countless gazes. Yet she remained closely by Qin's side, indifferent to the attention. Together, they entered Wiyue Meguei. The music blared. Lights flickered hypnotically, and the air was thick with the scent of alcohol, perfume, and hormones. A diverse array of men and women swayed in the dance floor, while others whispered and laughed in booths. Qin's consciousness expanded slightly, filtering through the cacophony of information until he pinpointed a target in a relatively quiet corner of the bar. It was a woman in a black velvet gown, seated alone at the bar, swirling a glass of red wine. Her striking beauty, pale skin, and languid yet deep gaze exuded a mature femininity. An invisible aura surrounded her, deterring any would-be suitors. Within Qin An's perception, she radiated a chilling and pure dark energy, starkly contrasting her feigned languor and allure. Moreover, he could faintly sense a powerful life force within her, tinged with a subtle hint of blood. "That's her," Qin An whispered to Ali. She nodded, her innate fox spirit instincts recoiling from the cold, dark energy. The pair approached the bar, taking a seat not far from the woman. "2 juices," Qin An ordered from the bartender. The woman seemed to notice them, particularly Ali's astonishing beauty and pure aura, which sparked a flicker of surprise and a barely discernible greed in her eyes. Such pure life energy was an exquisite delicacy for her. She raised her glass and gracefully approached Qin An and Ali, flashing a charming smile. "You two look unfamiliar. Is this your first visit?" "I'm a regular here, Sarah." She spoke in fluent Chinese, her voice carrying a magnetic quality. "Just sitting around," Qin An replied casually, a smile on his lips. Sarah's gaze lingered on Ali, commenting, "This sister is truly beautiful, like an angel." As she spoke, she naturally extended her hand, seemingly intending to caress Ali's cheek, her movement elegant yet laced with a subtle charm. Were she an ordinary person or even a low-tier cultivator, they would likely succumb instantly to her allure. However, Ali merely furrowed her brow, emanating a barely visible layer of purifying white light. Just as Sarah's fingers approached Ali's cheek, they recoiled as if shocked, her expression shifting to one of astonishment and pain. The white light felt like a searing iron against her skin. "You." Sarah's demeanor sharpened, shedding her earlier languor in favor of a keen vigilance laced with malice. She realized that these two were far from ordinary. Qin An set down his juice, observing her with calm composure. "Miss Sarah, or perhaps I should say, the Lady of the Dark Moon's Kiss, your hunting game is about to end." Sarah's expression shifted at his words, and without hesitation, she swiftly retreated, unleashing a high-pitched sonic wave that only those with acute perception could hear. This wave possessed a powerful mental shock capable of rendering ordinary individuals unconscious in an instant. Yet, Qin An was prepared. An invisible barrier of spiritual energy enveloped him and Ali, causing the sonic wave to ripple harmlessly against it. In the same moment, Ali raised her hand, directing a soft, purifying light that shot towards Sarah like an arrow. Sarah let out a shriek as dense dark energy erupted from her, attempting to fend off the purifying light. However, the white glow seemed to be the bane of her energy, causing the dark energy to dissipate upon contact. The purifying light struck Sarah's shoulder, eliciting a piercing scream as smoke billowed from the burn, and a charred mark appeared, devoid of any blood. "Damn exorcists!" Sarah glared at Qin An and Ali with venom, her form shifting into a swarm of bats, scattering towards the bar's exit. This was the vampire's life-saving technique, the bat transformation. Thinking of escaping? Qin An scoffed, activating the pre-prepared formation in an instant. Suddenly, golden runes illuminated the walls and windows of the bar. This was a simplified version of the demon-binding barrier that Qin An had arranged in advance through Zhaogang. The bats collided with the runic light barrier, emitting a series of crackling sounds as they reassembled into Sha La's true form, tumbling to the ground, her complexion even more pallid and her breath feeble. Qin An stepped forward, approaching her with purpose, his fingers darting forth like lightning to seal several vital acupoints and energy nodes around her. Sha La was rendered utterly incapable of resistance, collapsing onto the ground, her eyes filled with despair and unwillingness. The other patrons of the bar, previously stunned by the sonic shockwave and the sudden burst of light, were now starting to regain their senses, resulting in a chaotic scene. Qin An gestured discreetly to the agents of the security bureau hidden in the shadows, and immediately, someone stepped forward to take Sha La into custody. The first battle was a resounding success, capturing a vampire alive. This provided the security bureau with a valuable opportunity to study Western supernatural beings and gather intelligence for the Bai Gui Yi Xing initiative. As Qin An and Ali quietly departed the bar amidst the bewildered gazes of the crowd, this joint operation showcased the seamless coordination between Qin An's team and the security bureau, while also demonstrating Ali's significant abilities in specific situations. With each ghost that infiltrated being eliminated or captured, the net in Xiangshan was gradually tightening, poised for the appearance of the ultimate prize. Chapter 58. Warmth beneath the gloom having successfully eradicated the threats posed by werewolves and vampires, the morale of the Xiangshan Safety Bureau, and the Qin and team soared. Yet, all understood that this was merely an appetizing prelude. The main forces of the night parade of 100 demons, those yokai and shikigami directly controlled by Japanese shaman and ninjas, along with potentially more formidable mercenaries, lurked in the deeper shadows. In the tense interludes of battle, the Lingtai courtyard surprisingly exuded an unusual warmth. Perhaps due to the immense pressure from the outside world, the few individuals within the courtyard cherished this tranquil moment before the storm even more. The resonation with the earth's spiritual essence brought forth vigorous vitality, making the courtyard seem like a pure sanctuary, isolating it from the chaos and bloodshed beyond. As dusk descended, the setting sun painted the horizon in a splendid orange hue. Sun Xiaoxiao truly managed to use her assorted tools and materials, combined with the vitality spring, to successfully cultivate a small patch of moonlight grass. This low-tier spiritual plant emitted a faint glow under the moonlight, possessing a slight calming effect. She eagerly presented the flower pot to Qinin, her large eyes sparkling, awaiting praise. Indeed, she had made some progress. Qinin smiled as he tousled her hair. Although this girl occasionally seemed scatterbrained, her talent in technique and research was undeniable. Yang Yingxue and Ah Li were bustling in the kitchen. Yes, the kitchen. After days of consuming takeout and compressed food, Miss Yang could no longer endure it and decided to cook personally to improve their meals. Ali was roped in as her assistant. The results were, bang. Oh no. Little Li Li, extinguish the fire. Yingshua's sister. It seems I put too much salt. The kitchen was filled with the clattering of pots and pans, Yang Yingshue's startled exclamations, and Ah Li's timid reminders, accompanied by an indescribable burnt odor and peculiar fragrance. Qin exchanged glances with Sun Xiaoxiao, instinctively retracting their necks, and decided to pretend they hadn't heard anything. Xi and Xian sat under the eaves, sword in hand, observing the chaotic scene in the courtyard. A barely perceptible smile curved her lips, contrasting sharply with the austere atmosphere she was accustomed to in the bureau or the sect. Initially, she found it somewhat unsettling, but now, it seemed rather endearing. Eventually, Yang Yingxue emerged with several dishes that were only marginally presentable, with an uncertain flavor. Watching her and Ah Li, their faces dusted with flour, filled with both anticipation and trepidation, Qin steeled himself to take a bite. How is it? Yang Yingxue asked nervously. Qin chewed thoughtfully, his expression peculiar, before finally mustering a response. Edible. Quite creative. The others. After a raucous dinner filled with laughter, the night deepened. Moonlight cascaded like mercury, bathing the courtyard. The moonlight grass emitted a gentle glow, harmonizing with the stars above. The group gathered around a stone table, sipping tea brewed from the vitality spring, relishing this rare leisure. Speaking of which, Yang Yingxue mused, biting on her straw and swinging her legs. Once we've driven away these little devils and the monstrous entities they've summoned, where shall we go? We can't remain cooped up in this courtyard forever, can we? Ali tilted her head, gently resting against Qin's shoulder, whispering, wherever Qin goes, I will follow. Sun Xiaoxiao immediately raised her hand. I want to follow Qin too. There are still many things I haven't researched thoroughly. Xi and Xian took a sip of tea, remaining silent, but her gaze also lingered on Qin and observing the soft, warm faces illuminated by the moonlight beside him. Qin felt a surge of warmth within. From the initial solitude to now having companions to protect and fight alongside, this feeling was delightful. He smiled, gazing up at the night sky. The world is vast. We must explore it. The ancient texts left by the old man mentioned many intriguing places, like the immortal mountains overseas and the secret realms of Kunlun. Perhaps those places truly exist. His words carried a hint of longing, igniting curiosity in the eyes of the others. Overseas immortal mountains? That sounds exhilarating. Yang Yingxue exclaimed. Secret realms. Ali's eyes reflected dreams of exploration. Sun Xiaoxiao had already begun to envision using advanced technology to explore these secret realms. Even Xi and Xian's eyes glimmered with interest. As cultivators, the pursuit of the unknown was instinctual. This brief moment of warmth and daydreaming dispelled the oppressive gloom brought by the looming war. They were not only fighting to repel external foes, but also to safeguard this hard-won bond and the possibilities leading to a broader future. However, such delightful moments are fleeting. Just as the night grew quiet and everyone prepared to retire to their rooms, A piercing alarm blared simultaneously from Sun Xiaoxiao's device and the Safety Bureau's monitoring system surrounding the courtyard. Sun Xiaoxiao leaped to her feet, staring at the frantic red alerts flashing on her tablet, her face paling instantly. This is bad. Massive spatial fluctuations. At least 3 points. Energy levels, all reaching B class. Locations are in the eastern abandoned building complex, the southern abandoned school, and our courtyard's back mountain. Almost simultaneously, a colossal, chilling aura, steeped in endless resentment and malevolence, surged forth from the direction of the courtyard's back mountain like a tangible tsunami. It instantly shattered parts of the outer defense formations surrounding the courtyard. The moon in the sky seemed to be stained with a blood-red hue. They have arrived. Xian Xian sprang to her feet. Her Qingfeng sword humming as it was drawn, its intent soaring. Qin An's gaze instantly turned cold and sharp, his aura no longer restrained, unleashing the full pressure of his mid-foundation cultivation. The final battle, without any forewarning, erupted fiercely at this very moment. Chapter 59. The calm before the storm. The sky over Xiangshan resembled a soiled cloth, shrouded in a gray haze that exuded a sense of suffocation. The evening breeze carried a dampness that clung to the skin, and even the several green bamboos in the corners of the courtyard drooped, lacking their usual vitality. At this moment, the Lingtai courtyard appeared to be an extraordinary oasis of calm amid the tempest. I said, "Old Qin, are we just going to wait idly here?" My hands are itching with anticipation. Yang Yingxue lay languidly on the armchair, swinging her slender legs, gripping a game controller as she mercilessly vanquished the monsters on the screen, as if rehearsing for the impending chaos. Qin ignored her, standing in the center of the courtyard with his eyes closed. His consciousness, like an invisible web, extended outward from the courtyard's core, intricately sensing the surroundings. Deep beneath the earth, the formidable vitality known as the Di Mai Ling Zhong resonated subtly with the true essence of his yin-yang Fei Xingju, akin to the steady and powerful breathing of a slumbering giant. Following previous resonances and battles, his perception and guidance of this earth vein power had become increasingly lucid. The Energy Monitoring Network reported that abnormal fluctuations of evil energy were detected at 17 major nodes across the city, escalating in a geometric progression. A small voice emerged from behind a makeshift command platform cluttered with peculiar devices. She wore a cartoon t-shirt emblazoned with the phrase "Stay steady, we can win," accompanied by oversized black-framed glasses that dwarfed her face, her expression unusually grave. According to the model simulations, the moment when the spatial barrier would be at its weakest was predicted to peak at midnight tonight. "They are coming." Her voice quivered slightly, yet her fingers deftly operated the instruments with the steadiness of an experienced physician taking a pulse. Ali sat quietly at the edge of the small gathering formation, arms wrapped around her knees, resting her chin on them. In her pure, clear eyes reflected the faint green vitality shimmering at the heart of the formation, alongside a barely perceptible hint of worry. She could sense the increasingly potent, foul aura in the air, instinctively repulsive, pricking her skin like countless tiny needles. "Are you scared?" Qin, having opened his eyes at an unknown moment, approached her and gently ruffled her soft hair. Ali looked up at him and shook her head lightly. "With you here, I'm not afraid." She paused and added in a whisper, "It just smells bad." Qin chuckled. This fox's sense of smell surpassed that of the most sophisticated detectors. Just then, footsteps echoed at the courtyard entrance. Zhou Weiguo and Zhao Gang entered, both clad in crisp uniforms, fatigue etched on their faces from sleepless nights, yet their gazes were keen as eagles. "Qin Xiaoyu, Xiao Xiaoguan, Xian Xian comrade," Zhou Weiguo stated directly, his voice steady and commanding. "The intelligence has been confirmed. The grand offensive of the 100 Ghosts is set for midnight tonight." Despite prior preparations, the atmosphere in the courtyard thickened with tension at the formal announcement. Even Yang Yingxue set her controller aside and sat upright. "Damn it, it's finally here." She licked her lips, her eyes igniting with fierce battle spirit. "I've been waiting forever." Zhou Weiguo paid no mind to her expletive, turning to Qin. "All non-combat personnel in the city have begun secret evacuations to underground shelters. All field personnel from the Security Bureau, including reinforcements from surrounding areas, are now in position. The safety of Xiangshan, and indeed the very essence of the southeastern region, largely depends on whether we can hold this ground and protect the Di Mai Ling Zhong tonight." His gaze settled on Qin, imbued with weighty responsibility and unwavering trust. Qingnan took a deep breath, feeling the warm, life-sustaining energy resonating with his own beneath his feet. He nodded, his tone calm, yet imbued with undeniable strength. Rest assured, Director Zhou, although this courtyard may be dilapidated, it is not a place where any unruly spirits can wreak havoc. If they dare to come, I shall bury them. He paused, a peculiar smile gracing his face. It just so happens that my flowers and plants have been growing slowly recently and could use some fertilizer. As soon as those words left his lips, the previously tense atmosphere lightened considerably. Yang Yingxue burst into laughter. Yes, yes. Let us crush those little devil's bones to use as fertilizer. Sun Xiao pushed her glasses up and murmured softly. From an energy conversion efficiency perspective, the evil energy pollutants are not suitable as organic fertilizers. They may cause mutations in plants. Everyone fell silent. Qingnan shot Sun Xiao an exasperated glance. Even in such dire circumstances, she was still engrossed in her research. The specific deployment is as follows. Xian Xian's cool voice rang out. She had arrived in the courtyard unbeknownst to them, clad in a fitted azure outfit that accentuated her graceful yet powerful figure. The Qing Feng's sword at her back, though sheathed, emanated a prickling sword intent. I and senior sister Shinsinyu will serve as the mobile force, ready to support the most pressured battlefronts. Captain Zhao Gang, your team will be responsible for perimeter vigilance and clearing any stragglers while safeguarding evacuation routes. Understood. Zhao Gang nodded firmly. Qingnan, your core mission, along with Xiao Shui, Ali, and Xiao, is to hold this position. The Demai Zhong is our primary objective and our greatest reliance. The battle here will be the most ferocious. Leave it to me, Qingnan replied succinctly. As night deepened amidst the tense preparations and anxious waiting, the city lights flickered on. Yet an intangible sense of panic and oppression spread through the air like a plague. Ordinary citizens may have only felt an unusual unease tonight, but for cultivators like Qingnan, the entire Xiangshan city felt akin to a volcano on the brink of eruption, with countless dark, foul, and chaotic energies surging and gathering beneath the earth and in the shadows. The moon finally ascended to its zenith, a round orb tinged with a faint crimson hue. Midnight arrived. Almost at the moment the moon reached its apex, a deep, ominous hum resonated from the depths of the city, not transmitted through the air, but directly affecting the very souls of all extraordinary beings. Immediately, in every corner of Xiangshan City, dark alleyways, abandoned buildings, and grates of the sewers twisted as if the fabric of space itself was warping. A thick, inescapable black-purple evil energy surged forth like a flood breaching its dam. Roar, hiss, cackling laughter. Countless distorted, grotesque figures, accompanied by spine-chilling howls and maniacal laughter, surged forth from the rifts in space. There exists an ancient warrior spirit clad in tattered armor, its eyes ablaze with ghostly flames. There are grotesque creatures, their forms contorted and composed of industrial waste and malevolent thoughts. There are demons adorned in traditional wokaku attire, their pallor as white as that of a paper figure, and countless more that defy description. Seemingly birthed from the deepest abysses of nightmares, they surged forth like a tide of darkness, instantaneously engulfing the streets, rushing towards the buildings still flickering with the warmth of life. Boom. From the eastern part of the city, a robust azure sword light ascended into the sky, akin to a qinglong flicking its tail, instantly purging the malevolence from a vast area. It was Shun Xinyu who had made her move. Almost simultaneously, fierce energy fluctuations and the thunderous sounds of battle erupted from the west, south, and north of the city. The agents of the Security Bureau, alongside the civilian warriors and wandering cultivators who had answered the call, had already engaged in combat with the invading malevolent entities. It had begun. Qingnan stood at the entrance of the small courtyard, his gaze piercing through the night, observing the city now engulfed in chaos and flames of war. His fists clenched involuntarily. To be honest, witnessing this hellish scene, it would be deceitful to claim he felt no fear. After all, he was merely an 18-year-old youth, who mere months ago was preoccupied with his college entrance examinations. Yet now, behind him stood his home, his partner, and the very source of vitality nurtured by the land beneath his feet. He could not retreat. Xiao, activate the formation. Qingnan commanded solemnly. Understood. Xiao swiftly operated her array of equipment. Surrounding the Ling Tai courtyard, the places where Qingnan had meticulously carved and embedded the jade array bases suddenly illuminated with a gentle yet resilient glow. The Panshur array, the Qingxin Jingyu array, And most crucially, the purification field infused with the essence of the Earth's spiritual veins were instantly activated. An imperceptible yet vividly clear light shield enveloped the entire courtyard and the surrounding area for several dozen meters, resembling an inverted bowl. Almost the moment the formation arose, puff, hiss hiss hiss, like moths drawn to a flame, the first wave of low-level malevolent beings, attracted by the rich vitality of this place, screeched as they collided with the array's luminous barrier. The weaker ones were instantaneously vaporized by the purifying force imbued with life. Those slightly stronger were scorched, emitting acrid smoke and anguished cries as their movements grew sluggish. The small courtyard stood resolutely like a rock amidst tumultuous waves, radiating an inviolable purity against the encroaching tide of filth. "Haha, this is splendid," Yang Yingxue exclaimed, her eyes gleaming with excitement, rubbing her hands together, ready to turn these grotesque beings into QR codes. Ali also rose, her two ethereal white fox tails quietly manifesting behind her, her eyes gleaming with a resplendent pink light, poised to unleash illusions and purifying light. As Qin sensed the stable operation of the formation, coupled with the unwavering support emanating from the Earth's spiritual veins beneath his feet, a sense of calm washed over him. He glanced at his steadfast companions, and the inexplicable tension gradually transformed into a surge of boldness. A smile broke across his face as he beckoned to the throng of ghostly figures outside. "Come forth, you rascals. Grandfather awaits. Come if you dare." Chapter 60.